I immediately go and I drive to Walmart and I buy the largest baseball bat that I can possibly find. And then I bought mace. I bought like personal defense fucking mace. And
wait, I was making a joke. He actually does think that the Caleb Hammer financial audit assassins are coming to get him. Oh my god.
Reputation ends, right? I'm suddenly a part of this fucking machine, right? So if one of these fucking people
fucking machine,
nukes this,
it grinds people down, it chews them up, it spits them out, it throws them out onto the street, and makes them destitute. Caleb has had his own drama in the past, but it's mostly been like a lot of personal stuff, not a lot of stuff that is like Caleb said this or that. It's like Caleb was mean in a potential relationship. And I think it's usually proven that those people are crazy or whatever. But that also might be preloading this a bit too much, honestly. So we should take him as like... I did pre-watch this. He does get a little crazy. So let's get into it. This is the second most recent video. It's very short. The next video is an hour and a half. I got the job. It wasn't what I thought.
Caleb Hammer, you recently posted a YouTube community update looking for a junior producer. I eagerly applied to the job. I left a comment. You hearted my comment. So then I eagerly awaited your reply. And then I heard nothing for days. Which, by the way, I completely understand. You're a busy guy. You're out here, you're releasing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hitting that upload schedule. You're making that money, baby. You're making that money.
I get a trillion DMs a day now, so I get not being able to look at them.
So, Caleb, to see if I can get you to reply, I thought I'd make this video and give you the top 5 reasons you should hire me in 231 seconds. Reason 1, I've basically done the job before.
So, okay, so this is actually his video. I probably should have pre-watched this one because I didn't. Watch the one that was an hour and a half on Papa Gut stream, which is where I got the formatting for the stream too. So this is his video that he used to apply for Caleb Hammer Productions, which I don't know if I believe because the audio is too good.
I did 2 projects that are very similar to Financial Audit. The first one is a podcast that I hosted called Life Story, and the second one is a legal podcast that I produced called Let's Talk About Death and Taxes. And for both of those, I did a ton of production, and I handled casting and booking of all of the guests. I reached out to people, I did guest intake with Google Forms, and I created an entire work.
Wait, what is it called? Let's Talk About Death and Taxes? Let's talk about death and taxes. You put death in the... Wait, what?
The second one is a legal podcast that I produced called Let's Talk About Death and Taxes.
Where can I find that? I remember the day I posted this video, I was so proud and excited I worked on this like crazy. This was my shot. I never expected things to turn out like they did. This video is my application to work on Caleb Hammer. When I made this, I just watched the marketing company that I worked towards building for the last 18 months crumble in front of me. I was at the end of my rope. Out of money, out of runway, out of time, desperate, afraid. Bills were stacking up. Rent was punching me in the balls, and I was living on a credit card. Wait, okay, so let's remember that. I was basically living on a credit card. Why don't you work for a YouTuber? The video changed my life, which I'm not exactly proud of. In this time, I believed. I'm republishing this not to throw stones, but to honor and reflect on who I was. Okay, so we have reflection, but not particularly good. Oh, here it is. Subscriber law. Aw, Jesus, dude. I think this was pre the big algorithm change that allows like smaller people to rise up. Small people rise up. Whoa. 7 views? Wait, these are like a few minutes long. So you're just talking to like a random CPA. This is also, I think, this is way before Financial Audit, whenever financial stuff really took off. Because this was produced, what, 4 years ago, right? So that's during COVID. So this is pre, like, the American debt crisis that we're in right now. So it looks like he just picked, like, a horrible time to start talking about financials. But if he like, republished this, I kind of do think that he would get a little bit of money. Also, who's this black guy?
I thought this would be, like, an interesting political
So
issue.
that's Chrysler.
That we could potentially speak about. Which that can, you know, basically...
Eddie. And now we're gonna deal
estate planning, dude. Nobody cares about estate planning. Nobody can figure out how they're gonna get their next DoorDash meal. I can't believe that you can finance your fucking like Taco Bell orders now. That's insane. Fucking like Klarna financing a McDonald's Big Mac. Not even a Big Mac. Imagine ordering a $5 biggie bag at Wendy's and fucking financing it for like 20 cents a month over 10 years, like accrues interest.
Here's the way I see it. You have something very good going on. Here's my fear with your channel. There's going to be a point eventually where it gets a bit stale.
Sure.
I'd also like to see you at some point maybe going on like a car shopping or in like you motorcycles. I think stuff like that is how you keep your business going well and continuing to expand.
That's true. I do actually think Caleb, like, for me personally, I do think he's gotten a bit stale. I don't know. I think the guests are like fine, but the craziest people we've already seen. You ain't got the economic sparts, payday loans for the win. Fuck yeah, dude. God damn. There are so many people with so many fucking payday loans. It's insane. Like, that's one of the things that I think's been missing lately from Caleb Hammer is that there's not that many people with payday loans. I do watch most of his stuff. So wait, let me pull Caleb Hammer up, because I do actually watch all of his videos. Not on this account. I don't watch stuff on this account unless it's drama related. This was a good video. I did watch this. This guy is like obsessed with like gay OnlyFans stuff. I didn't watch that one, but my girlfriend did, and apparently like the guy is trying to marry someone in Mali or like West Africa. But it's like people with like lots of credit debt. You don't see any crazy like, oh my god, I took out like a $200,000 payday loan and it's got a 3,000% interest like you used to. I liked it whenever he pulled on YouTubers. I wish he did collaborate more with people or like talk about YouTubers too much, but apparently like Boogie ruined Caleb Hammer for that. Caleb gets a shocking low amount of people with payday loans. Yeah, especially now. I feel like he used to get a lot more. But he said that he refuses to do YouTubers anymore because Boogie lied to him so much. When it's like Boogie is literally like a competitive liar. There's this guy. That guy was crazy. This e-girl comes on every now and then, but that's kind of it. This one was a really good video. I liked this one because that one, like, I don't know. All of these thumbnails, sometimes they make it sound worse than it is, and other times they think it's great. Also, I think this is one of the videos that we will hear Noah Chrysler talk about. You know, I'll get to all of this later. The video that we'll really be watching, this is just his like intro to Caleb. But he has another big video where he kind of goes insane. I think he's actually like mental. He's a nutto. He's nutcase in this video. Okay.
Better integrate your merch store and expand the financial education resources that you have available for your audience. I'm thinking we set up Caleb Hammer Peace University, right? Move out of the way, Dave.
So whenever I was watching Papa Gut, I actually don't think he gave this guy enough credit. Or like he did. I actually do think he did somewhat improve the show, because he's like, oh, let's get more resources for the people who come on. Let's be nicer to them. Let's give them everything they need. Stuff like that. It's not like crazy cool stuff, like insane, like, oh, let's give him $1 billion. Okay, so that was kind of boring. Let's get into his actual video. Because this is him like 3 years ago, I think, or a year ago. And he worked at Caleb Hammer's for 9 months. Yeah, I said that. What are you watching? Look at this guy. Let's make him big.
I have attempted to record this video at least a half a dozen times, not just within the last week or so, but within the last like 6 months or whatever. Since I've started making content again, I've tried to start this video.
He's been making content again? What the fuck are you talking about? Also, I will say, this does seem like a grab. This seems like a total, like, money grab because his other stuff wasn't getting any views. Look at this stuff. 50 views, 700 views. You get 6K here, which is fine actually. 200, 400, 600, 200. You can't live off of this, and I think that's what he's trying to do.
So many different times. Nobody understands. That's the other thing, is that nobody understands. Nobody understands that I think about this situation compulsively.
Like I
think
do.
about this situation at least once an hour every single day. I'm filled with fear around this situation. You know, even though I have...
He's filled with fear. Caleb Hammer has sent the assassins. Caleb, from what I've heard, is kind of a snake. Yeah, I hear a lot of different stuff about Caleb. The thing that makes it hard to believe is that some of the stuff about Caleb could be true, but all the people who accuse him are absolutely nutto. They're insane.
Had months to decompress and months to rebuild myself as a person, right? Like, I still think about this situation and it strikes me to my core with fear. But let's give this thing an intro, huh? My name is Noah Chrysler. For about 8 or 9 months, I believe, last year, I worked for a man named Caleb Hammer. The job started out as a dream, right?
Okay.
If it originally felt like I was like living in this dream, that like my dreams were coming true, and I moved all my shit to Texas, and then it slowly devolved into a nightmare.
Doesn't sound healthy. When you start saying like, "Oh, my dreams are coming true," that doesn't sound healthy to me. That sounds like you might have had like super high expectations or something.
I signed 3 contracts while working for Caleb Hammer. Each one includes things like a non-disclosure, a non-compete clause, and legal language that made it incredibly hard to figure out what I'm even allowed to say. And because this all happened in Texas, I've had to navigate a legal landscape that doesn't exactly favor people in my position. Making this video has been absolutely exhausting. I've spent weeks trying to get it right, fact-checking, editing meticulously, and replaying memories that I wish I could forget.
Do you guys remember a game called Remember Me? It's a game where you can replay memories. Nobody remembers Remember Me except for me. It was Don't Nod's game before they made fucking Life is Strange. This man is insane like most of his workers, probably. You remember me? I'll never forget Remember Me. It was pretty schizophrenic. There is a part in this that I do think makes Caleb look manic. We'll get to it.
I did this because I know the risks, but I also know what it's cost me to stay silent. This isn't easy for me, not just legally, but personally. For the first half of this story, I considered Caleb to be one of my closest friends. We worked side by side, and I barely knew anyone else in Austin, so the way this ended is something I've carried with me every day since.
Whoa,
throughout this video, you'll
heavy,
hear
dude.
My voice come in from time to time. Those parts have been carefully crafted to reduce my legal liability. Putting this out at all might be a mistake, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Dude, this sounds
Over the
crazy.
past 6 months, as I've returned to making my own content,
is so dramatic.
I've been using it as a way to sort through the harder chapters of my life. I started a podcast series called My Failure Resume, where I reflect on old projects.
Wait, did he? Wait, what? When did he do that? Failure resume? What the fuck? Is it live? No, he has one live video from 5 years ago. Shorts? He's trying everything. He really wants to make this work. I think he has like one particular talent, and if he didn't burn it, it would have been better. DM me, I am a nut job. Okay. Whatever.
It's not to wallow, but to make sense of them, to lay them to rest. I didn't set out to make this video, but if I'm honest, I think some part of me...
Like, you work for a finance bro, you ain't that hurt. True. True. I mean, if it's something you put your entire life into, I can get, like, why you would be like, oh, fuck, I failed this job. This fucking blows ass. And I have nowhere left to go. But this guy isn't even, like, trying. He's not working. He's making fucking YouTube videos. Wait. I just noticed something. Okay. Can you guys read that? Probably not. My editors need to eat. This guy is paying editors for a sub 1,000 view average channel. Are you kidding me? Dude, this is so fucked up. My editors need to eat. you get a Google Voice and can text me to get, and then you can ask him for ideas. You can ask him for Fortnite challenges. I'll put your face on my wall on the Patreon shrine. Theoretically, Patreon is home BTS? Korea? South Korea? Boy band? But I have ADHD and consistency can be hard. Jesus, dude. IDK, give me some time to really nail this one. People are paying you. Jesus, what are the comments like? Watching it before it gets taken down. Yeah, that's the reason I'm here. I had to get in on this before it got taken down.
He always knew it was coming, that behind the other stories that I was telling, this was the one that was waiting. And sooner or later, I'd have to face it. There were some things that were happening at the company that I was deeply not okay with. So I marched into the office of Caleb's business partner. That morning, I had a private conversation with Robert, the main business manager of the company.
That was a very odd cut. Also, is it okay to put his name out there? I don't know. It's probably already out there. Whatever.
For weeks, I'd been wrestling.
This is going to be a note. This guy has horrible fucking, like, security standards. He should take this video down, like, for his own fucking sake. Dude had the finances of most of Caleb Hammer's guests. He does. And he lies about it too. We'll see.
With growing concerns about what I was seeing behind the scenes. When I would raise these concerns in other areas of the company, they would fall on deaf ears. That day, I finally voiced them directly and privately to Caleb's main business manager, Robert. I told Robert that I couldn't keep working there unless serious changes were made at the company. That afternoon, Robert pulled me into his office and I was let go. I asked if Caleb planned to even say anything to me as I was being fired, and Robert informed me that no, he would not. As Robert delivered the news, he told me that there was a severance offer, but to receive it, I need to sign an additional agreement. It was the most restrictive NDA I'd seen so far. It made it clear.
He's only seen 2 NDAs in his life, and he's like, this one is the worst one ever.
Here, if I took the money, I couldn't talk about any of this. I told him I needed some time to think. Later that evening, Caleb texted me a large video file. It was the security camera footage of his business manager, Robert, firing me. Caleb just texted it to my phone.
He got sent his own firing video. That's awesome.
Shocked, I watched the video back in disbelief. Then I immediately blocked Caleb's number. Now, I'd told Caleb multiple times, on camera and off camera, that being let go was something that I carried a lot of emotional baggage around.
I'm sure that's actually, like, incredibly painful, okay? For realsies, that's probably, like, actually, like, aw, shucks. That fucking sucks. But it could also be, like, a completely honest mistake. Here's the thing. This guy is making this video as if every single thing that Caleb does is fucking malicious as hell.
It was a trigger for me, and it's something that we even discussed on his show more than once. So when I received that video file that night, I couldn't help but wonder, why send it to me like that at that time? That's just what I thought in the moment. I drop everything. I immediately go and I drive to Walmart and I buy the largest baseball bat that I can possibly find. And then I bought mace. I bought like personal defense fucking mace. And
wait, I was making a joke. He actually does think that the fucking Caleb Hammer Financial Audit assassins are coming to fucking get him. Oh my god. Oh, he has text. Out of sheer panic, I bought these items because I felt unsafe and unprotected. It was a personal reaction to fear, not a response to any specific threat. That sounds like you felt like it was a response to a pretty specific threat, honestly. Whoa, guy.
And I bought a doorstop so that I lived like a quarter mile from his studio because I moved to Texas for this job.
No, this absolutely sounds like you thought the Caleb Hammer assassins were going to come in and smash you.
And he's just texted me footage of like one of the most traumatic experiences of my life.
This guy thinks everything is traumatic.
Right? So you can go ahead and say that I am like, you know, irrational and insane, but like, you know, at that time in my life, I was freaking the fuck out, right? I know that sounds paranoid, but in that moment, I did not feel safe. Receiving that video and watching it back made me feel like my sense of security had been fundamentally violated. The next morning, I received an email from Caleb where he explained that he just sent me the video by mistake. Since I was in the video, he got confused. He informed me that he had intended to send the video to Robert instead for Robert's records. I'm only going to make this video one time, and I'm going to do a good job. I've outlined the major
Wait, we didn't have the context for that. Dude, I hate this about so many YouTubers now, is they'll leave out like a shitload of context. We don't know what this group chat was at all.
There's so many individual stories I could have put in this video that I decided not to.
What if
and
it
the
was a
only
group
way to
chat?
do it is with something like this, and I'm going to tell you the whole story of my engagement with Caleb Hammer since the beginning. I don't want to make this video. I really don't. That said, I
don't wanna
realized
make this
eventually that I
video,
have
so I
to.
made a video.
I had to make this video because I can't get this fucking shit out of my brain.
You had to make this video because you are unsuccessfully running a YouTube channel that you want to make money off of. That's why you had to make it.
The reason why I'm making this video is so that I can try to achieve something similar to closure. I think about this situation every single day. There's 8 acts here. We're gonna go through each one. Tab out if you want, like go play a video game, throw it on in the background, go for a drive.
Acts.
I don't
This is an hour and a half long video.
Act 1,
so
here we go.
Get ready, guys.
For the past 2 weeks, I've been trying to turn the most traumatic story of my life into a television show. I have tried to make this video many, many, many times.
Dude, you're
One
profiting
of
off
the
of
renditions was
trauma right
me,
now.
trying to cut this situation. I gave a down-the-barrel monologue about this situation. I give an angry, angry monologue in the woods, okay? And then that is a part of this, like, 3-act structure comedy show, like, television show pilot that I was trying to cut. And so, like, for the
You are so fucking dramatic, dude. Your life is not a movie. You should treat your life like a movie in some circumstances. You are the protagonist of your own movie. You are the hero of your own story, okay? But this guy is literally thinking he's gonna get assassinated. It's not that kind of movie, okay?
past 3 weeks or so, I've been trying to take that monologue where I'm so angry and trying to cut it into this like funny television shows type thing about my life. And it's driven me insane, right? Like trying to make the most traumatic story of my life into a television show has actually genuinely driven me nuts.
Although he might have been insane
here for like
before.
3 weeks, staring at my computer, trying to get this right, asking myself, why isn't this right? Why isn't this right? Why isn't this right? And the reason why it's not right is because when something horrible happens to you, hi macho. I'm watching back the footage of what I made, right? I'm watching back the edit, and I just...
Did you say I'm macho, or did you say hi macho? Why would he say hi macho?
Right. And the reason why it's not right is because when something horrible happens to you, hi macho. I'm watching back the footage of what I made, right? I'm watching back the edit, and I just realized to myself, there's no possible way that I can sit. After 3 weeks, I sit there and I realize there's no way I can cut this together in a way that people are going to understand that, like, the anger that I'm experiencing in this monologue as I give it down the barrel of this camera, they're never going to understand.
Dude, he's using such dramatic terminology. Out the barrel of this camera? Dude, it sounds like you got a gun pointed in your face. That's not like the right way to talk about this at all.
And why I am this rightfully angry. This will not play how I want it to play, right? And so instead, what I ultimately decided is that I needed to make this video where I just tell you all of this information down the barrel.
If he thinks it's gonna be so bad for him, why is he making this fucking video? If he thinks like Caleb Hammer is coming for his booty hole, why the fuck is he even making this video in the first place? It's insane.
Of the camera. We're gonna start at the beginning. This is a whole story. This is my whole arc with Caleb Hammer. I'm only gonna make this once, so we're starting way back where I want to. I built a marketing agency, right? I quit my cushy job at a marketing agency to build my own. Previously in my life, I had squirreled away $10,000. I'd listened to hundreds of hours of the Dave Ramsey Show and squirreled away $10,000. I was overweight and I didn't really like my life and I didn't like my job, right? I had moved to Atlanta a few years prior, probably 4 years prior, to try to make it in the entertainment industry, and I was working some senior living marketing job. Well, I would talk to my parents.
Wait. I'm sorry. He's trying to make it in the entertainment industry, so he's got a marketing job? That doesn't sound right. What the fuck? What? Okay, so he squirreled away $10,000 and he blew it all on moving to his marketing job. Okay, I got that much. I don't exactly have the other parts where he's like sane.
And they didn't really understand why I had moved away. And so I took all of my life savings and I quit my job to build my own marketing agency.
I don't understand either.
Right? I picked back up where Oscar and I had left off, but I was too afraid to admit that I wanted to do YouTube stuff, right? So instead, I picked up the idea that Oscar and I had where we were building a marketing agency. You know, I got some clients, I made $20,000, but I had spent so much money trying to get this agency to launch that it ultimately failed. During this time, though, like I had met this person that I still really care about, a close friend of mine, and she told me once, she goes, why don't you just work for a YouTuber, right? Like this marketing agency doesn't seem to be what you're passionate about. Like you know more about YouTube and you make better videos than like most of the people I've ever seen. So like, why don't you just go work for a YouTuber?
Has this person never seen YouTube before? Because I don't think that. I actually don't think that you've made the best videos anybody has ever seen.
Right? And that really blew my fucking mind wide open because it's like, oh, holy shit. Like that's...
Imagine showing his friend one episode of like any Filthy Frank. Yeah, it's absolute bullshit. This guy is fucking like, he's a liar. He's stupid and a liar.
It's such a simple solution and you are so correct. Yes, let's do that. So I jump on YouTube and I find the next week, I find Caleb Hammer has posted this job ad. You know, we're hiring a junior producer and I'm thinking to myself, let's go get it, you know? So I'm like, great,
yeah,
this
get
is my
that
shot.
bag.
I make my application video. I pour over that video like for 10 days. I fucking work my ass off on that video, right? As I'm making that video, you know, there's a segment at the end where I talk about how his show is this positive transformational force for good, right? People come on his show when it changes their lives, right? And I was really, really excited to work at a business where people's lives were, you know, that was like personal transformation. That was like what we were going to be doing, right? And I remember trying to
dude, this guy is like, look, Look, okay, I hate to shit on Caleb a little bit, but like, come on. He's telling them to like pay back their fucking credit card bills and get a 6-month emergency fund. He's not telling them anything fucking revolutionary, okay? He's giving them pretty basic financial advice. This isn't like... I mean, I guess it's life-changing if they have never heard it before, but like, come on.
And B-roll for that section. Up to this point, I'd only really consumed Caleb from TikTok and from YouTube Shorts, but I had consumed so much Dave Ramsey that I kind of was like, oh, they're probably like similar, right? Like this is Dave.
Oh, Jesus, dude. He didn't even watch fucking Caleb Hammer. He watched fucking Caleb Hammer Shorts. That's funny. That's something that exactly that Caleb gets on his guests about. Is like, you only watched the shorts? How did you not think I was gonna talk like this? I can't do it, Caleb. You only watch the shorts? Oh god, that's peeking the mic. No way dude thinks YouTube is this hard. Bro treating it like he had a 100-hour-a-week worker. He is. He actually is. There's a segment in this video where he's like, I was working 60 hours a week and it was the hardest time of my life. Also, can you call what he's doing like 100? Like he's calling it that. He's saying like, oh, YouTube is so fucking hard. He's making like really like, these are not good. He's kind of like going for the Caleb Hammer style thumbnails in a way. I got fired. Wait, is this him
Nobody cares
about
my work. Nobody cares about my work. And suddenly they cared for some reason. When an employer communicates to you that they don't want you to work there.
Making content.
Of like a little bit of success and I'm like, dope.
Can't, okay. I don't want to, does he mention Caleb Hammer at all? Where's the transcript? Wait, did he disable transcripts? Because I think that's something you can do, right?
Ramsey, but he's holding people accountable with tough love. That's like how I thought about it, but it's pretty funny to watch, right?
He doesn't really hold people accountable. I mean, he does for like an hour. but he's not holding people accountable forever.
And so as I'm trying to like put together this like, you know, voiceover section of like, oh, your show changes all these people's lives, I was really struggling to find clips of Caleb changing anybody's life. Instead, I just found people crying. I found a lot of people crying. I found a lot of like Caleb making funny faces to the camera, but I didn't find a ton of the transformational stuff that I was talking about in my voiceover that I had originally written. But you know what? You know, I mean, the video was almost done at that point, and so it's like, okay, fuck it, ship it. Like, you know, like red flags, sunk cost. You know, sunk cost. Fuck it. Like, let's keep moving. What I realize now is,
what about all those like financial follow-up episodes where the people are like, oh yeah, you know, I fixed my finances. I'm winning now. I've got everything under control. My life is far better. There's like, I remember this one that was particularly good where it was like a guy who had an alcoholism problem. And after going on Caleb Hammer, he's like, yeah, I stopped spending so much money on alcohol. I went to like AA, stuff like that.
it's like, wasn't concerned with transformation, right? Was concerned with humiliation, right? That had been the playbook since day one, and I was not aware of it, right? That's why I bring that up. So whatever, I finished the video. I post the video, and then within 2 hours, Caleb calls me on my cell phone. I lose my mind over the first call. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited, right? I am so fucking over the moon excited. You know, we do 2 interviews, right? We do 2 interviews. First, I talk to... So I do an interview with her, then I do an interview, second round interview with her and Caleb, right? I nail both of them because, like, I know my shit, and I remember this part. I'm pretty sure there's a paper trail that backs this up, but, like, let me just go ahead and cover my ass and say that this is the impression that I was left with. The impression that I was left with was that I wasn't sure if I had gotten the job, right? They had kind of, like, alluded to the end of that meeting that I had received the job, but, like, I remember not being sure that I had the job until I got a call from Caleb that he was at a Best Buy, and he was going to buy me AirPods, right? He was going to buy me AirPods 2, or the fancy ones that like were really nice. Oh, and I remember that phone call was like confirmed to me that I had the job. I had asked them, so I was like, hey, can you send me the job offer, right? Send me the job offer because A, I have to go get an apartment, and B, like, I'm going to move all my shit across the country, right? I need a fucking job offer. So,
I mean, yeah, that sounds rough, but I mean, this is also a YouTuber. This is not like, as much as it sucks to say, this is not like a professional. This is a YouTuber who fucking does, like, has not managed, like, a real business before. I mean, not that it's not a real business. I don't know, managing people on the same level of like, a bank or a corporation. I don't even know how easy it is to formulate, like, a YouTube business job offer. I wonder if it is as easy as, like, oh, you sent it to me? Great. Or if it's, like... oh fuck, now I gotta talk to a lawyer, now I gotta talk to an accountant, now I gotta get like all this shit in order, versus like Activision, who would just have those on hand. I don't know.
Send me the offer, and they told me that they would, but then they're like, well, we're super busy, so like, you know, we'll get to it eventually.
They didn't say that they're busy. They said that they're preparing the documents right now.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to move all my shit across the country. You want me to do this on like a hope and a prayer that you tell me that there's a job there?
But did you quit your job before you got a job offer? That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he quit his job before he got a job offer.
With no formal offer? What the fuck? But, you know, I don't want to rock the boat. There was Moby Dick, right? There was a giant whale in the ocean, and I had made my casting video, right? My application video, and I threw my harpoon at the whale, and the whale reeled me in, right? I wasn't about to be like, hey, like, what the fuck?
This guy is obsessed with Moby Dick references.
Whale, where's my offer letter? And instead, the whale called me, and he said... I'm going to buy you AirPods. And I said, oh, okay, cool. Right? Thinking nothing of it. Right now, in hindsight, I look at that story and I think to myself, wow. Instead of like transparency and a job offer, instead it's like, hey, like, come to Texas, get your AirPods. All right? Like, that's fucking weird. Little bit of an aside. One of my friends, Emily, is a therapist, and she talks to me. We've really explored recently how this is very exposing. Here we go. My entire life, I've been like... very ADHD.
Stop exposing yourself to me, dude. That's fucking gross.
I've dealt with loneliness my whole life, right? I felt like people don't understand me at a very high level, right? And so that's very deeply concerning to me. And so like the way I've coped with that, there's like 4 ways to cope with trauma, I think. There's like fight, flight, or freeze, and then there's a 4th one called fawn. And so fawn is
Psychological talk was the worst thing that happened ever.
The one that I typically use. Fawn is like this obsession with like escapism. Okay, so like when you're fawning over something, you can fawn over a book or a movie or a person or a celebrity, right? And so this is the one that I've typically used, right? So essentially, like whenever I felt like negative emotion in my life, I typically gravitate towards fawning over like media. And so that makes it...
Okay. I don't know if I believe that. Wait, I can just look it up in like the DCM5, right? Or DCM6 or whatever we're on. What is it called? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. Oh, they actually are like real. Okay, that kind of, I don't know if that makes it better or worse, because that just does confirm that he's using like psychological talk. Fawn is your body's stress response to please somebody to avoid conflict. So that doesn't mean that you're obsessed with somebody. This guy might have like OCD or something, but I'm not here to diagnose him. Because that is a misdescription of what that is.
So that like I am like hyper excited by like people with online fame, right? And I didn't understand at the beginning of all of this how prone that makes me to manipulation. I didn't understand that that makes me like a big juicy target, right?
So he's saying Caleb Hammer manipulated the fuck out of him, and Caleb Hammer fucking targeted him. Caleb Hammer was like, this guy, he has the fawn response, okay? He has the fawn response. Fuck him up. We are gonna manipulate and take advantage of this guy until he can't provide anything anymore. We're gonna suck him dry. What the fuck, dude?
Now I understand. Now I get it. So that's fun. Here's a fun tip. If you obsess over escapism or online celebrity, you should look into fawning and see if you fit the bill.
If you obsess over an online celebrity and you're not like 14, I don't know what the proper response would be, but it's probably not just looking up a self-diagnosis.
Someone who fawns, because like if you are that and then you someday meet those people, you will be prone to manipulation by those people. Okay, so you should look into fawning and you should try to figure out how to cope with it in a way that's not going to ruin your life. Cool. Anyway, Caleb Hammer calls me. I still don't, like, you know, we go back forth, emails. You know, it's like multiple weeks. They have tons and tons of opportunity to send me a job offer, but you know what? They can't figure it out. They can't figure it out. They can't figure out how to send me a job offer before I move all my shit. I was staying in New York, but I had to move all my shit from Atlanta back to down to Austin, right? So I drove.
You didn't have to do that. They probably could have, like, you could have waited. You could have not quit your fucking job before you moved. I don't even know that he has done that, but he's talking so dramatically. Like, that's the only assumption that I can make, is that he made an extremely poor financial decision and is blaming it on fucking Caleb Hammer for fucking like manipulating him. What is this?
Drove from New York in the course of like a 2-week period. I drove from New York like 16 hours down to Atlanta. Then
I'm stealing this from fucking Papa God. Wait, no, let's finish it.
Packed up all my shit in less than a week, and I moved all my shit and moved out of my apartment from Atlanta across the country to Austin.
Okay, so in a 2-week period... Wait, that makes no sense, right? In a 2-week period, he went from New York to Atlanta to Austin. In case you're not American, we have this thing called the highway system, and it's not exactly as fast as trains, but it does get kind of close. So 2 weeks is fucking insane for that time period. So here's what I'm thinking. Here's my thought process. He had a job in New York, got another job in Atlanta, or moved back in with his parents in Atlanta, and then moved to Austin, because this all happened within a 2-week time period. So he's moving to Austin, and the only confirmation that he's got that he has a job so far is that Caleb Hammer bought him AirPods. And he said that he thought nothing of it, but he's moving like a third of the way down the country. This does not add up. This doesn't make sense.
I felt like I was living inside of a dream. People don't understand that, like, it felt like I was in a dream sequence, right? Like, I had posted this video, my application video. I posted that publicly to my social media. I posted it on Facebook. I posted it on Instagram. I posted it on YouTube, right? Everyone in my network kind of knew I had kind of gotten discovered and moved all my shit across the country. For the first time in my life, people actually started to respect me. Instead of like, oh, that's Noah, Christ, you know, I don't know what he's doing, but he really likes videos, and sometimes he'll make something that's like kind of funny, but a lot of times it's cringe as hell. For the first time in my life, a lot of those people started to respect me for the first time.
I mean, it's not because, like, look, people don't respect you if you're like funny or whatever. People respect like success. Okay, and it is good to be funny. Like, don't get me wrong. On a personal level, it's great to be funny. But if you're talking about like a job, just being funny doesn't cut it, or being cringe or whatever, unless you can make money off of it, right? Like, you can't respect a comedian that's not on a stage, because that's just a person, and you can respect that. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm crazy, but I feel like I'm not able to explain it properly either.
And that was very, very, very nice, right? A couple weeks in, you know, like, I'm working really, really hard. And I remember talking to my father, and my father really truly did start to respect me for the first time. He started to understand, right? He started to understand that there was real money in the industry that I had like focused in.
Okay, wait, no, let's look back at that. Is it because your father didn't respect you because he didn't understand the industry? Or did your father not respect you because he dressed up in a fucking drag and tried to do Filthy Frank sketches around the house while getting no views? And
that there was real money in the industry that I had like focused in, right? Because he didn't get it for the longest time. He did not understand. I finally had my father's approval. And people don't understand how powerful those forces are. People don't understand how that locks you in. That locks you in to being railroaded.
You actually sound very not locked in right now. In fact, I think you need to lock in
into behavior. I just know at that time, I really loved the story that was being written. Swept away to adventure, to go reinvent yourself after being discovered by this extremely successful person who's having a meteoric rise. It was a beautiful story, and I got to be the star of it.
No, so cool. Caleb Hammer's the fucking star of it. You're fucking, dude, that's fucking stolen valor right there.
Cool. I arrive on my first day. Sit down. Here's your job offer. Sign the letter. And I am.
Also, it's not like he was the only person doing his job, okay? He was not the only person getting guests in the fucking studio. There were people doing it before him, and there are people doing it after him. He's not like the god of Caleb Hammer Studios behind the scenes. Not saying he didn't help, he obviously did, but he's definitely not as good as he's pumping himself up to be.
Immediately I'm like, that's kind of weird, because I've been asking for this for weeks, and now on like one of my first days, like, you know, you immediately have this, and now I'm being like pressured to sign it. That's weird.
That's not weird. That's how most jobs work, actually. That's how my job worked. Actually, mine did take a little while between signing and starting, but like, that's pretty ordinary, I think. Especially if it took him a while just to send you a letter.
By the way, also, if you're a lawyer or someone else, like, send
me
an email.
He is him. No, he doesn't think he is him. He is him. Also, putting your full name out there. That's great. It's one of the things that's my niche. My personal vendetta is against people who treat their information like it's nothing. This guy is telling everybody where he lives, like down to like a 5-mile radius, and giving out his like full name. Do not do this. Do not do whatever the fuck this guy is doing on YouTube ever. He is not mentally well.
If you have anything to say about this situation, you want to help me in any way at all, send me an email, contact@noahchrysler.com, because I'm terrified. I'm terrified. But, you know, I've read so much about this that, like, I know that, like, there's calculated risk here. And I've heard that, like, if I just tell the truth and I just focus on telling the truth and articulating the truth as highly as I can, right, with verifiable facts, then I'm probably okay. So that's what I'm going to try to do.
Well, that's the part. There's not verifiable facts.
Cool, whatever. I get the offer letter. I sign the offer. Cool. I take a bunch of pictures with Caleb Hammer. It's my first couple days there. I'm literally freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm living in a dream. Holy shit. Cool. Couple days go by. Caleb has this idea. Graham Steffen's coming into town. Hey, Noah, I know this is weird, but like Graham's coming into town. We should do something fun and special for, you know, Graham coming into town. What if we audited you? I immediately go, no. Nope. The reason why I originally said no was because I had just dealt with the trauma of, I had worked for
the trauma
years trying to build my own marketing agency, and then it failed, and then so I had to go lick my wounds by going to work for another agency. And I was working for that agency for 3 months, and then at my 90-day review, after I met all of the outrageous goals that these people had set for me, at my 90-day review, they had made a decision to terminate me and let me go, right? Because they had lost this big client in a situation that I believe had nothing to do with me. But whatever. They lose this big client.
This is so fucking inconsistent. I don't get it. So is this before he moved to New York, or is this whenever he moved to Atlanta? Like he moved to Atlanta to move in with his parents, and then he got hired by Caleb. I don't understand everything that's happening right now, honestly. So he didn't want to do the financial audit on himself because he fucked up badly in the past. What the fuck does that have to do with the financial audit? What does that have to do with your money situation? We'll get to it.
And I'm let go of that job at my 90-day review. And that situation was so deeply tied to my finances that it was like there's no possible way that we could avoid talking about that if I was on financial audit. So I think about all of this, and then I eventually go to Caleb and I'm like, or I go to Clara actually, and I tell Clara, I'm like, you know, Clara, like the reason why I'm so hesitant to do this is because in my application video, I don't get into about how I worked for 90 days at this previous job, and then.
So it sounds like he lied to Caleb Hammer Studios. It sounds like he outright lied to Clara and Caleb about his previous work history. I imagine that was strike one, because I actually think if you line everything up, there is like a 3-strike system in place. But yeah, he lied to his employers because he was embarrassed. He was embarrassed. I mean, look, he needed a job, sure. I think that's somewhat fair. But it's pretty bad. Whenever you're... I don't even think you had to tell him. You could just be like, oh, I want to keep that information private. You don't have to be like, let the truth out if that's something you're so scared of, which obviously he was because he left it out. It's just, I don't know, it's stupid. God, I want coffee right now. Who didn't pay the payday loans being put on blast by his boss? Yeah, exactly. Didn't want the payday loans. Totally.
And they let me go, you know, and we didn't really talk about it in my interview because like you guys didn't really probe on that at all. I'm very reluctant to talk about any of this because like how uncomfortable would it be for me to reveal that information to my employer, like on his fucking talk show in front of all those people, especially in front of Graham Steffen. But anyway, whatever. Eventually I think to myself, okay.
So the only reason he really revealed it is because there was somebody more popular there who he was scared of actually like looking into his past, I guess. That's the only thing. That's the only like reason I can make all this make sense, that he lied at one point but not the other.
Okay, I've just moved my life across the country.
Water.
I'm already committed to this, pot committed. Do it for the plot, right? Do it for the story, right? And also I think to myself, if I'm going to be recruiting people to go on this show, the most powerful thing that I can do is believe in this show. I don't know if you know about sales, but like when you're selling something and you believe in the product, it's way easier to sell the thing. If I'm going to be recruiting for this show, I might as well fucking go on this show myself, see what it's all about, right?
So this is part of like where the timeline gets fucky, because he makes it sound like he just joined the company and then was immediately asked to be audited. But I'm pretty sure that timeline doesn't actually line up. So if we go to Caleb Hammer's channel, oh, we can't watch it anyway because it's a fucking members only podcast, isn't it? Or is it this one? Is it this one? Rue? Is the later videos not loaded? Or maybe it's like an unpopular video because nobody cares about the cast. This is normal. Rue. I don't know. Maybe
My name is Caleb.
Or maybe it's like a Patreon only thing. I don't know.
Right? Like, is this actually going to help me? Because if it actually helps me, then like it's going to make my job super easy to go recruit for this show. So I go on the show. I agree to go on the show. Now, I will say, you know, this was consensual, right? This was something that I agreed to do. I agreed to go on that show. That was on me. I will say that, like, you know, it should have been done more intentionally, right? Like, we should have gone in with a plan. There was no plan. There was no plan. It was the camera's on. Let's go. So we filmed that audit. I didn't sleep at all the night before because I was freaking out. Because my greatest shame, the debt that I had, you know, my greatest shame was going to be paraded in front of all of these people that they don't want the best for me. I go on the show.
What are you talking about? He's your employer. He wants you to be at your best, so he probably wants what's best for you. What are you talking about? God, this guy is such a... I don't even know what the right word is for him. Such an idiot. Such a moron. Getting a job where you have to talk at all, and you have to talk about your past, or like accepting a audit into your past, because he could have said no, by the way, and he's treating this like Caleb Hammer is abusing him.
I do the show. I get no sleep. Between not having any sleep and being so starstruck by, like, I'm sitting across from Graham Stephan, who I've watched for years, right? I'm sitting across from Caleb Hammer, who has recently decided to completely transform my life, right? I'm sitting across from these two people as they're digging through my greatest shame and having to explain myself on no sleep. It was fucking crazy. Like, people...
Dude, you sound like such a drama queen. You sound like such a fucking drama queen. Wait, okay. Caleb Hammer... Noah audit. My new employee sucks. Oh my god. My new employee sucks.
My name is Noah. I'm 27. I'm based out of Austin, Texas.
Okay. We will tape you to the table. Let's see what's going on. What's your plan? You don't need a second job. You need to budget. Wait. Was he going into debt while working at Caleb Hammer? Because... Oh, Jesus. Okay, wait. $3,000 for Austin? Come on, Caleb. That's a little low. I would do 3,500. At least. For Austin? On. Unless, wait, no, I'm pretty sure he has a roommate. I think he mentions it in this video. Let's watch.
People don't get it. In a city where I know nobody, in a city where I've like gone and like, you know, completely isolated myself from any support network, I'm suddenly just like in it now. So I do that. There's even a clip that I recorded after I went on the show. I originally was so excited. I was so excited. I'm thinking to myself, like, man, there's a lot of moments in this conversation where I'm like legitimately funny or interesting, or I have interesting insights. And so there's going to be people in Caleb's audience that are going to be like, hey, this guy's actually fucking cool, right? At this point, I had made videos for a decade and nobody had actually recognized me at all. And look, like, I consented to all of this, right? I consented to all of this, but like, I look back on that situation and I just think to myself, like, wow, like, what a ham-fisted way to handle that situation. Clearly there should have been like an adult in the room that's like, hey, like, this guy is clearly like emotionally compromised, right? Like, he's clearly...
It's gonna be hard to find.
It's not. I've looked. I legit know
like
what your plan was just a couple days ago.
I call it cockroach mode, right? You guys are
So we go
familiar
from
with...
ostrich to cockroach?
Yeah.
Okay, what's
Like an animorph.
Is it just you scatter?
No.
Like lights come on
Like
and you
an
disappear?
animorph.
No, a cockroach, you know, survives, right? The cockroach survives, but like, and it hangs on, right? And so like,
You
just
can't kill
nothing.
it.
Right, you can't
Yeah.
kill it. I'm resilient, right?
No fucking way. No fucking way. So he's literally like exploding his balls all over the fucking table in this scene. He's resilient. He's bold. He's the boss of his own life. And then in the other video, he's like,
hey, like this guy is clearly like emotionally compromised, right? Like he's clearly being swept up by fame and agreeing to things that he probably shouldn't, that are probably not in his best interest.
what, like paying your fucking debts? How? Jesus, dude. Come on. What the fuck? Actually, for real, what the hell?
And so like, let's at least do this with some sort of intention. Let's do this carefully so that this person doesn't grow to regret this. Now, in hindsight, I wish that that had existed.
Wait, okay. Maybe I misinterpreted. So he's saying that he got swept up in the like excitement and action of the thing, and then he's also expecting them to be like, this guy's emotionally compromised. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you assume that they would assume that you're emotionally compromised when you're fucking blowing your load? What the hell?
And it didn't. But whatever, I went on the show and I'm proud. It was brave as fuck.
It was brave,
I don't care what
guys.
you say.
He's so brave.
It was brave as fuck for me to do that. Like, you know, you can be like, you know, there's like, you know, is he stupid or is he brave? Well, you know, let's not split hairs, right? He's both. He's a little bit of both. This video is also that, I hope. I hope this video is like, you know, is he dumb as hell or is he brave as fuck? Pick one. I don't know. Cool. I go on the show, whatever. The reality behind the scenes, when I was originally hired, I was the lowest on the totem pole. I don't think had ever managed anybody before.
Normal.
But for the first couple of weeks, as I was like, they were saying jump and I was saying how high, right? Like that was like when our relationship was decent. For those first couple months there, I was working at least 60-hour weeks, right? I had gotten an apartment that was less than a mile from the studio so that I could just focus on putting all of my time in at the studio. I have a dog.
Okay.
And so like I wanted to make sure that I could, you know, if I needed to let my dog.
Do you? Caleb normally puts that in the video if you own a dog. So gas, food, 300. Maybe that's factored into it? I don't think so. Rent, utilities, debt.
Apartment. Well, you should look, even if it's not glamorous. Imagine just for, even if you do a studio for like $900 for a year. For a year. Where?
I genuinely, I want to make a video where we look for this because
Okay, that's fine.
I feel like that's gonna be hard to find.
It's not. I've looked.
Okay.
I've looked like multiple times on
Hell
the show
yeah.
for people.
Hell yeah.
Is it gonna be the most pleasant thing? But no.
He just doesn't bring up that he has a dog in the video.
Dog out, I could go let my dog out, and then I could go back to
Jesus.
work so that I could really just focus all of my time doing
Wait,
this.
let your
If you talk
dog
to my
out?
parents at this time, you know, this is when my
Let your dog out while you go to work? Never heard this concept before, I'll be real. He wants to let his dog out while he's going to work? Sorry.
dad truly started to respect me because my dad is an entrepreneur, and when he was building his business, he was working 80-hour weeks every single week. And so he saw the level that I was grinding at this, right? And he began to truly respect me. And I think everybody at that company started to truly
This
respect
guy
me
is
too.
so needy. He needs respect from everyone around him. Come on. Have some self-respect. How about that?
As they saw the dedication that I was bringing to my work on the show. Every week we would try to film 4 episodes, right? And at the beginning of my employment, before I communicated that it was an absolutely unrealistic amount of work, I was responsible for preparing all of the finances for everybody for every single episode. For the first week, that was the plan, was to have me just prepare everything as well as do all of guest coordination, all casting. So I was going to do essentially all of the casting as well as all of the document preparation and all of the budgeting for these people before they got on the show, right? So I would go through their statements line by line, right? And I would make these budgets for them. And then I would also be on the phone, constantly calling people on the phone, literally every single day, right? My day was call people on the phone, right?
Okay. So I'm going to be honest. That actually does sound like a bit too much work for the amount that he was earning. Because he's making like just a bit under $3,000. I mean, he also has like $1,000 in debt that he's trying to pay back, right? So that's pretty ass. So that doesn't sound awesome, honestly. So he's in charge of bringing in guests. He's in charge of going through all of their statements. For people who don't watch Financial Audit, there are people who come in with literally like dozens of statements, line by line, coagulate them. That's not the right word. It's co-something. Put them all together. Get a sheet ready for Caleb to go through. He's making 3,000. That seems pretty low for the Austin area. I'll give him 1 point for that. Is that like -10 otherwise? But he gets 1 point for that.
Right, to cast people for the show and then do finances, right? And I was busting my ass, right? It was such a ridiculous amount of work that there was no possible way I could get it done within 40 hours a week. I was very locked in for the first couple of weeks, right? Working a shit fuck load trying to get this show to happen.
A scientific term.
I eventually tell them like, hey, look, this is unsustainable and I'm going to freak the fuck out because it was ruining my life. I'm like, look, we need to build a casting system. And
we need a cast system, guys? Oh my God.
Me build a casting system or I'm going to lose my mind. Also, we need another hire to handle the numbers because I'm going to lose my mind. If I have to do all of the casting and all of the numbers for every single one of these people, I'm going to have a mental fucking breakdown. Yeah, and so I was not met with support. Reasonable. I remember building the casting system on my own time. I came in on the weekend. I came in on my birthday, actually. I was working on my birthday.
Oh, you worked on your birthday?
Because I had no friends, right? I had no friends, and that's not their fault
I've worked
necessarily,
through all
right?
of my
but, like,
birthdays
I was just, like,
for like the last,
at this time in my life, like, that's what I was doing.
I think
I was just like
one.
constantly working for this fucking business.
Jesus. It's not that bad. It's not that bad to work through your birthday. You celebrate on the weekend. I mean, maybe it's bad. Maybe Caleb isn't. Is Caleb giving PTO? That would be great to know. Does Caleb give paid time off? Probably not. He's a YouTuber. That part of that comes with the territory, and part of that's unreasonable. That's an understandable complaint, but that's not what he's saying.
So I came in on my birthday and all these other weekends, and I fucking built them a casting system. And I built them a casting system that worked so well that it was undeniable.
You're working on the weekends,
right? That was what I needed. Because like this was not a tool that I was doing for a pat on the head. This was a tool that I was going to use to try to reduce my workload from 60, 80-hour weeks down to like a reasonable 40 hours, right? So this was a very important system to me. So I built out my...
Okay, also, I do want to note, this guy is complaining about having to work like 60-hour weeks. Meanwhile, while he's working at fucking the like marketing joint that he had before, and what was the other one? Did he work at 2 marketing places? He's also doing YouTube in his spare time at those places as well. So like it's kind of hard to feel sympathy when you're trying to make it on YouTube while working 40-hour weeks, and then you voluntarily go work for another YouTuber. Like, you know the schedule. You've literally worked it already.
My casting system. That's when things started to change. I think everybody in the company eventually started to see the effect that I was having on the company as like numbers were going up. There was like a month where like every single video that we were producing was getting more and more views than the last one. At this time, I was very, very upset because like the audience was beginning to blame me for...
Okay, but also he's accepting like responsibility for all the shit that's good and rejecting all the responsibility for shit that's bad. Like, come on. It's like, oh, I'm the only person who was willing to fucking improve Caleb Hammer Studios. I was the only person making things easier for people there. Maybe that was the case, but you gotta have some receipts for that. You gotta be like, oh, Clara didn't fucking wash the dishes. Caleb didn't fucking clean the microwave. And it was me! I was the one doing all of the work! If we're taking it at face value, yeah, that sucks. You're having to work, like, harder than you would a normal job. And, to be honest, he wasn't getting paid as much as a normal job either. If he is working, like, 60-hour weeks, working on the weekends, and he's getting paid sub 3K in the Austin area, that doesn't sound great, honestly.
Certain changes, and it felt to me like I was not allowed to tell the audience the changes that I was responsible for and the ones that I was not responsible for. My first ever cast for the show.
No, he says that he feels like that He's never been told that he couldn't.
I brought on this couple. During my original audit, I talk about how I thought what we were doing was essentially creating a millennial version of the Dave Ramsey show. Dave Ramsey for Gen Alpha and Gen Z and millennials. That's what I kind of thought we were doing.
Not at all, dude. How the fuck? Wait, no. I forgot. He only watches the fucking clips. He only watches the shorts on YouTube. Fucking idiot. Why would you assume that? This guy has made like a bajillion assumptions and is blaming it on Caleb. It's like old women say, when you make assumptions, you make an ass out of you and me.
Doing. And so I remember casting this couple. I'm thinking to myself, great, this is going to be a very interesting episode. I've got this couple. I interviewed them over the phone a ton. I talked to them over the phone. These people are fun, right? They're outgoing, extroverted people who are constantly goofing around, right? They're both a little neurodivergent, but I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be a fun episode, right? Okay. Their finances aren't a complete and total dumpster fire, but like these are fun people who like are making mistakes, but who are trying to get better. And so I bring these people in and I put them on the show. This is my first ever cast. I'm full of fucking nerves, okay? For some reason during recording, Caleb is not bringing it, right? He's just like not there, right? At the beginning, he starts aggressive and he starts like, you know, he's locked in for a little bit, but like 10 minutes in, the steam just like melts out of the train.
So it sounds like you brought on some people who like were not made for the show. Who like went not like against the grain, against the hammer. The thing about the hammer is that it needs an anvil, okay? To make a shitty fucking metaphor. I don't know. He's up in his own ass thinking like, oh, you know, these guys, they really need the help. They're really there. Caleb can be that guy for them. And then it's like, well, that's not what the show is for. It's a show. It's not a charity. I don't get it. Like, come on, man.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, that sucks. Like, you know, I was so excited. The shoot ends eventually. You know, I handle thumbnails and stuff, and we do off-ramp, off-boarding, I guess, and we say goodbye to these people. And I am pulled into an office to discuss the episode. And Caleb, in my opinion, from my recollection, I came away from this situation with a recollection and a feeling that
I remember feeling rattled and afraid. Dude, you know he said something like, I thought Caleb was going to kill me. He thought Caleb was gonna shove a hammer up his ass. Like, alright, come on, dude. Tone it down. It's like... It's almost like in editing, he realized almost how schizo he sounded, and then was like, maybe I shouldn't say that, actually. Maybe I'd be better not to say something like that.
I was afraid. I remember feeling fear. I remember feeling disillusionment because I started to realize like Caleb's main arguments boiled down to this. He had just hired me, right? He had taken all this financial risk on to hire me. His assumption was that the quality of the guests, his term for quality, right, was going to increase after he made this giant thing, right? And then he just went and did that conversation, and he realized that the quality of the guests that he was looking for, right, that was not being met. This is the first true understanding that I had of this. I thought we were making the Dave Ramsey show. Debt-free scream, you know, Dave, help me out. I'm trying my best. Hey, that's okay. I'm old as hell. Here's some Southern wisdom about how to guide you across the finish line, right? That's not what we were doing. In my opinion, instead it became clear to me that like we were not looking for people that we could help. In my opinion, my job became find people who had negative marks on their report card so that Caleb could point them out to him on camera. You know, we need a report card filled with misbehavior so that like...
Yes. Yes. I don't even know how you wouldn't get that from watching the fucking clips. How don't you get that from watching the fucking shorts? And yet you're watching fucking... Not the show. That's insane. How are you watching, like, anything Caleb Hammer related? And then you're like, oh, we're getting people who just need a little bit of help. It's an hour-long show. You need people who are disasters. Caleb made the, like, look, okay, there's a lot of people who don't like to hire fans because they can be wacky, okay? And that's completely understandable. There are some absolutely deranged fans out there. being for real. But like, hiring somebody who's never seen the show before, like, what the fuck? That's Caleb Hammer's biggest mistake, is hiring somebody who's never fucking seen the show before.
Like during this fucking 90-minute shoot, which by the way, they don't need to be 90 minutes, but okay, they're 90 minutes, and I didn't understand that. Until Caleb gave me the impression of somebody who was very angry and there was much volume. I think that's the appropriate way for me to say that.
This guy had never seen the show before.
You know, when I first started working there, I was in this illusion. I really thought that what we were trying to do was build a modern version of the Dave Ramsey show. Say what you will about Dave Ramsey.
Up,
I
dude.
disagree with a fair amount of what Dave Ramsey says, but at the end of the day, I look at Dave Ramsey as the pinnacle of this industry. Dave Ramsey has done this for like, what, 50 years or close to it. He is the king of this space. People...
No, he's fucking not. He's a bit outdated. Like, look, I haven't seen Dave Ramsey, like, his actual show. All I've seen are the clips. Jesus. And I'm pretty sure he actually is, like, quite a bit outdated for, like, modern times of money. And honestly, most of what I have seen has been stuff that's like, well, if you're $5,000 in debt and you're trying to choose to go to college instead, and it's going to cost you another $25,000, or you can have a job that'll give you $1 million a year. I think the one that gives you $1 million is going to be the right choice for you. However, if you go to college, maybe you can get $2 million. And it's like, oh, okay.
Trust him. His foundation is an ethical bedrock. He points to the Bible. The borrower is slave to the lender.
No way, dude. No fucking way. He's pointing to the Bible, and that makes him better than Caleb Hammer because he fucking cites Bible verses whenever he's telling people to save their money. What the fuck?
Spend less than you make. Those two things, those two values that Dave Ramsey has, makes it so that every single episode of Dave Ramsey's show is at least somewhat valuable. His value system is based in the Bible, and therefore you can trust him. And people do. Like, you look at his empire, he has what I think his facility is worth like $400 million, and it's paid for in cash.
Argument from authority?
I looked up to Dave for a very long time, and I was excited to work with Millennial Dave. Here's when I start to become disillusioned, okay?
He's not
I'm thinking
Millennial
about like big
Dave.
waves I can make, right? Because I've just gotten there, right? And I want to show.
Look, okay, you know what? I'll try to be positive. I'll try to give some fucking generosity. Maybe that's how Caleb sold himself to Noah. He's like, oh yeah, I'm like the Millennial Dave Ramsey. But I don't know. I feel like if you watch his show, you can very easily see that Caleb Hammer is like, I'm not David Ramsey. David Ramsey gets stuff wrong, and I do too, but I'm at least more relevant to your life right now. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Fuck, what the fuck?
I want to prove my value, prove my worth, right? So I'm thinking about big waves that I can make as I come into this company. I look at the top most viewed episodes of all time, and there's a few that stick out to me. And I'm thinking to myself, if we could just get these people back on the show, the audience is familiar with who these people are, and these episodes are going to do gangbuster views if we can just get these people back on the show. So the first one, essentially, we learned through another guest of the show that this person that was a former guest, one of the most viewed guests of all times, she's teaching a class in Austin, and that class is open for anybody to attend. And I say jokingly to the office, and it's half a joke, half not a joke, but I'm like, oh my God, I should go try to see if I can recruit this guest to come back on the show by going to her class. And I said it without like fully wanting to do it, right? Because like saying that and doing that are two very different things. But when I said that, like Caleb really loved that idea. In my opinion, Caleb
in your opinion,
grabbed onto that idea, and he really, really wanted me to do this.
He is replaying the exact same clip every single time because he thinks that Caleb is gonna like throw a fucking lawsuit at him. And also that saying, in my opinion, over and fucking over again is gonna save him from a lawsuit.
in my opinion. And so I'm like, you know, kind of on the fence about it. I'm like, you know, and I'm excited, right? And I want to prove that like I'm a go-getter. So I'm like, okay, like whatever, like, but I'm as it's becoming more and more real, I'm like, fuck, like this is kind of crazy, right? I'm very nervous. We were going to film this for Caleb's vlog so that this could go in the vlog, and that never ended up making it into the vlog because I never sent in the footage because because the situation disturbed me to my core.
Jesus. The situation disturbed you to the core. Wow. What could have happened? What could have possibly happened? That's insane.
I end up going to this class after Caleb strongly encourages me to do it. I go to this class. And I sit through the whole thing. Now at this time too, like I had no friends. I had no friends at all.
Oh my god! Here's something sad and embarrassing about me.
Like
Please
spirituality.
Don't use it against
and so
me.
I go to it with a lot of reservations, right? And I'm in Caleb's mindset of like I'm gonna film this vlog for this thing.
Okay. Also, he's somehow thinking that he's like doing everything he's doing in this world for fucking Caleb Hammer at the moment. He's fawning. He's doing the fawn method of stress reaction. And he's like, no, Caleb's not my friend. Caleb's not my fucking friend. Caleb made me work on my birthday.
I'm sorry. I've never really spoken about this publicly before, so this story is very difficult for me to tell because, like, I feel terrible about this still. Anyway, we make it to the end of the class, right? I don't reveal at the beginning of the class that I'm working for Caleb or whatever, but what I didn't expect was to really, really, truly enjoy this class. Right?
So wait, let me hear that again. That might have been a flub.
Terrible about this still. Anyway, we make it to the end of the class, right? I don't reveal at the beginning of the class that I'm working for Caleb or whatever, but what I didn't expect was to really, really, truly enjoy this class, right? It felt so wonderful to be surrounded by people who didn't have to like put on this like persona. It really genuinely felt like everybody was going to take their masks off and have like a vulnerable moment together. That was what the whole point of this class was to create a safe space where you could talk about weird stuff. I was invited into this like cocoon of vulnerable people.
It would be really nice if we, like, okay, I don't care actually, never mind.
Sharing their real selves, and I shared my real self with those people. At the end of the class, and I revealed to her that I work for Caleb Hammer. And I
guys, that's so sad. He works for Caleb Hammer. Can we get an L? Like, what the fuck? Why is it so depressing that you work for Caleb Hammer? Like, because the thing is that like that's not like his reaction after the class. That's an edited reaction. He took a clip of him from saying something else and threw it in there. And he'll do this throughout the video if you watch closely. You don't even need to. He fucking does it all the time. He does the same thing with "in my opinion," and also he just has like random clips inserted of himself drinking coffee.
I watch this woman's face. I get this weird set of sentences out of my mouth where I'm like, hey, you know, I'm here on behalf. I work for Caleb Hammer. We're trying to get you back onto the show. I can offer you more money. You know, please come back on the show. Will you consider it? Here's my email. I know this is weird. I give her my pitch, right? And the look on this woman's face was something that I will never forget. The look on this woman's face was one of intrusion. Right? Intrusion, betrayal. And she was afraid of me. That's the thing that I think really fucked with me. We went from being super tight to immediate fear.
You went from super tight? Dude, you showed up to one of her fucking classes. That's not super tight. What the hell are you talking about? Are you serious? That's not in no way is that super tight. Also, like, it sounds like you did come across pretty hard. Wait, that doesn't work with the joke. Fuck. It sounds like you did come across very weirdly and awkwardly, and so you coming up in that manner probably didn't help her.
She immediately was terrified of me, and I didn't understand how that was possible. Because I was living in this illusion. I was living this illusion that, like, everyone loved this show. This show was...
I don't know how you... Dude, okay, wait. This guy has like a weird brain, okay? So this is going to take a moment to explain, but I did pre-watch, so I can give most of the context. He has like a weird thing with women where they like can't be sexualized But imagine you're going to a weird class, okay, and they can talk about anything, and it's weird and it's gross and it's so cool they can talk about it. I don't even know what the fuck that could possibly be, unless they're talking about like sex, maybe. And this is completely me putting upon the idea of this, so this could be totally untrue. Take this with a massive grain of salt. But you're going to this weird person's class, and you really enjoy it, and you're this like giant lumbering guy. He probably doesn't work out that much, but he looks like he probably does a little, right? And you're like, hey lady, I work for Caleb Hammer. Can you come back? I can give you a little bit of money. That doesn't look very good, especially after Caleb's allegations. Here's my email if you want to contact me later. And then she's like mortified. She's like terrified. Yeah, that looks really fucking weird, actually. Although, again, that requires having like the full context of everything, which we don't have.
Was built to help people with their finances, right? But yet I was speaking to one of the victims of this show. And that person had a very, very, very different view of the thing that I
he doesn't explain
had
what
just
the view
moved
is.
across the country for and stuck my reputation on the line for. In my outline here, it says
Your
I wasn't
reputation,
recruiting, I
dude,
was
you were
hunting.
barely on the show.
Another thing that bothered me was that I wasn't aware if the audience understood what the fuck I was actually doing. I wasn't sure.
Do you understand what the fuck you're actually doing? Because I don't think you do.
If they understood how like predatory what my role ultimately was, right? Find someone who's going to make for good entertainment on this show. I wasn't aware of that. And then I would like look in the vlog comments, because at this time we were making a vlog and there was a lot of drama around the vlog. I didn't like the way Caleb would edit me in the vlog, right? And I would tell him that, and ultimately the vlog ended because I got so upset with like, it's like, Caleb, like you're painting me out to be like, there was one specifically that stands out to me, and that is the conversation around Gia. The thing that bothered me with the vlog was that there was internal pressure put on to me that was implicit, but Caleb would, you know, use the vlog. There's one moment in the vlog where I'm arguing about we need to film with Gia because Gia had just like, you know, driven across the country to be there, and although she was sick, right? What people don't see in the behind the scenes of that vlog was that like Caleb, just a couple weeks.
You sound like weirdly obsessive. You actually sound like weird. Wait, Gia? Okay, wait, can I confirm that? Caleb Hammer Gia Audit. Is that Gia? I don't just want to like keep looking around. This is the only woman coming up. 8 months ago. Who's Gia? Oh yeah, I fucked up the search. No, she's coming up again.
But I wanted the money because I was going to buy a van with it, and then I did, and then I lost the let's be real. Life away.
Because I wouldn't want. Usually,
Yeah.
Wait, can we get a name?
And my name is Finance Gia. I'm 20.
That's Gia? Dude, she's a nutcase. She's the one who, fucking, like, retaliated against Caleb Hammer for making a weird thumbnail. No wonder Caleb didn't want to help out. Jeez, this person fucking... Like, okay, wait, I gotta verify everything, right? Gia Financial Audit. Yeah, so apparently Gia got super pissed off after it about the thumbnail. And she, like, didn't change at all. Yeah, dude, no wonder. Wait, is he just trying to use fucking Gia because she like previously went out of her way to attack Caleb Hammer? Maybe.
Prior Caleb. Well, we don't have any backlog and we need more guests and we need to have an episode pop off, like performance. People did not see any of that.
That's how business
But instead,
works.
like, it was revealed to the audience that, like, well, Noah's pushing really hard for Caleb to film with Gia, even though Gia's sick. And Noah is so stupid and he really needs to take better care of the talent. And it's like, that drove me crazy because it's like, cool, now to your audience, I'm an asshole. When they don't see...
Gia wasn't... Oh, God, what the fuck is he saying? They think I'm an asshole when they don't see what I'm doing to the... Insert minority here.
Is geared at, well, we don't have anybody. And it's like, what they don't see is
What they don't see is what I'm doing to them.
So I wasn't a super huge fan of the vlog all the time. But around that time, I started looking at the comments on the vlog, and I would go out, you know, sometimes the vlog would be about me going and looking and recruiting guests for the show. And in the comments, people would talk about the guests for the show, and they would refer to them as victims. They'd go, oh, Noah can search for victims at this place. That was the comment that really was seared into my brain.
For somebody who's been trying to do YouTube for so long, his understanding of the language around here is like awful. You don't fucking like the word victim on like a show that's very antagonistic? Jokingly antagonistic? Like, I don't know. Come on.
That's when I began to realize, oh, like even if I'm a nice guy, even if I'm a nice person that does care about and respect these people, I'm operating in a system where even people who are fans of this recognize that my role right now is to look for victims of this machine.
Yes.
That really fucked with
you're
me.
Fucking,
in my
you're
opinion,
fucking
there was also this implicit pressure
them.
that like you have to comply with.
Well, it's funny that he just brought up Gia when Gia was like tried to make herself the ultimate victim. Like she's the one that gave Fin Audit like so much trouble anyway in the first place. You can't like rely on like somebody who has been victimizing themselves, and I don't know, maybe this is pre her trying to do shit, but like if she's sick every day and you have a schedule to keep, you can't just keep reserving time for this person, especially when he's like, I need to get paid. You need to get paid. The YouTube channel needs to make money. You can't just keep reserving time for this one person who's not showing up to the work that you're providing. Like, come on.
With Caleb's narrative, right? You have to comply with Caleb's narrative, in my opinion. So I couldn't jump into there and be like, hey, like, you know, it felt to me like I could not correct the public narrative about like, hey, like it's not okay to talk about these people like they're victims. If we're using the word victim when it comes to recruiting for the show, that's deeply fucked up, right?
So,
like,
I mean,
it
that's
felt like I
against the
wasn't allowed to
fans.
say that. In my opinion, my role.
I have noticed that there's like this weird habit of people who don't like somebody to attack their fans. Like iDubbbz called Ethan's fans demons. I mean, that's the one that mostly comes to mind. Destiny's fans are crazy. Hassan's fans are crazy. Ethan's fans are crazy. Ethan, Hassan, Destiny. So he's like, oh, the fans, they're calling them victims now. Oh my God. Can we be any worse to these people who are just providing their time on Financial Audit?
Role became to attract people to the show that were going to get the most views. We film an episode of this show. There's this person that comes into the studio, right? This is a young girl. She's less than 20 years old. I don't remember exactly how old she is, but she's like a real fan of this show. She's not from a casting website or anything. This is a real fan of this show that like really needs help. Her finances are kind of a mess, but like, you know, she's like kind of a kid, right? She lives with her parents. I remember she had this like cool car and stuff. She was like a character, right?
Oh,
She's
she's
fun,
so cool.
but she's a
She has
fan
a
of
cool
this
car.
show, right? We come in, we do our episode. I remember there, you know, she was younger, right? So there wasn't like a big financial story there, but she fit the type of person that we assumed would get the most views, right? The episode is like not great. I remember that, the episode not being great because there wasn't a whole lot of substance because like she only had like, you know, a year or two of financial history where she was like on her own. She had a bad car loan. She had, you know, she didn't have any money. I don't think she had a job.
Okay, so he's admitting once again to fucking up the the fucking casting without getting somebody. Okay, cool.
Right? But she fit the bill. So anyway, we go through this episode. This person's like 18, 19 years old. We get to the end and she recorded her episode and everything seemed fine. But after the cameras stopped rolling, there was a thumbnail photo shoot session. That was normal. What wasn't normal was what I saw next.
Whoa.
She was guided.
So we have a 20-year-old who didn't make a great episode because she had not enough financial history. And she's
into poses that to me felt suggestive. More skin, more angles. It didn't make sense for a finance show.
Oh my God. It's not a finance show. It's not like really a finance show. Finance is like a big like catalyst or premise of the show, but really it's to make fun of poor people. it's to make fun of like poor stupid people. Which like honestly, I take that criticism way more seriously than the fucking whatever the hell this is. Come on. Just like my brain is breaking. I like Everybody just makes such bad criticisms of Fin Audit whenever it should. I don't know. It feels so easy to me. They're taking like. Also, can you provide them? Can you please reference the episode?
Didn't make sense for someone that young, and it definitely didn't make sense for someone who had just come in as a fan. I stood off to the side.
Oh, they were a fan of Financial Audit? Okay, that could be bad. Do we have any information on if Caleb preyed on them? Like, come on.
Chewing my nails, feeling sick to my stomach. She was
so
barely
bad.
out of
This
high
video is
school,
so fucking bad.
and I felt like the priority of the photo shoot had shifted from respecting this young woman to instead grabbing views.
It's all about grabbing views. That's the job. The job is grabbing views. The job is to get more views. That is your job. That is Caleb's job. That is the job of the business.
That was one of the moments where it kind of hit me. It didn't seem like this show was about helping people. It seemed like it might be about something else entirely.
Okay, let's look at Noah Chrysler's shows about helping people. We failed. The first person to believe in me, 300 views. Why people don't get discovered, 150 views. Oh wow, you're helping so many people. You are helping so many fucking people on your show. Wow. You're doing awesome on your fucking show. Do you know that? Your show is helping so many fucking people.
This wasn't exactly a one-off situation either. Another time, a guest came in who was an exotic dancer. She was funny and charismatic, but after the episode, there was a clunky, awkward conversation about thumbnails. I don't remember who said what, but the whole vibe shifted. It felt like
Guys, the vibes were off.
she understood what she was being asked without anyone needing to say it directly.
I mean, yeah, she's an exotic dancer. Dude, this is what I'm saying with like this guy is super fucking weird. I mean, look, it's not like crazy to be Christian or weird to be Christian, but it's definitely weird to like start criticizing your boss over it whenever you should watch his channel. Oh man. So we have like an OnlyFans hua, an OnlyFans girl or stripper or hooker or whatever. And they're like, oh, we need suggestive photos because we're going to be talking about a hooker. What's so weird about that? It's like, oh, she understood without saying anything. You're writing like fucking erotica here, dude. Shut the fuck up.
She pulled out her phone and started showing pornographic videos and explicit photos of herself to a member of the team right there in the studio. She didn't seem uncomfortable with it. In fact, it felt like she thought this was part of the process. Like this was just what you did on a show like this. At that time, I didn't really question that. I think I told myself that that was fine, but looking back now, it felt like the team was treating explicit OnlyFans content as potential thumbnail material for a financial advice show.
Sure. I mean, again, it's not really financial advice. It's a comedy show. But this guy thinks that Caleb is actually the next Gordon Ramsay? Dave Ramsey. If Caleb Hammer started a cooking show, I don't know if I would take it. I've looked at his cookbook. I don't think it's that good. That's my biggest criticism of Caleb Hammer. His cookbook, not very good. I don't like it too much.
And that felt like a deeply strange thing.
See, there are real criticisms you can make of Caleb Hammer. I think they are out there. I think there are amazing criticisms of Caleb Hammer and his process and everything about it. But this guy is making like the worst ones. It's like, I was uncomfy. This was very uncomfy. The vibes were off. Ugh. Come on.
Thing to me. A similar situation with another guest also left a lasting impression on me. Caleb had met her at a party and invited her to be on the show. She was an exotic dancer, and when she arrived to the studio, something felt off almost immediately. I'm no medical professional, so I won't speculate, but she seemed deeply out of it. She had trouble focusing.
So that he invited a junkie onto the show. Okay.
The shoot had to end early because it became clear that she couldn't make it through the episode. Before filming, she changed into an extremely revealing outfit, one that left very little to the imagination. And once the cameras rolled, she spent most of the time quietly playing with Play-Doh on camera, barely engaging with the financial conversation at all. At the time, it barely registered as weird to me. It was just another strange day in an already strange job. But looking back now, it's clear how far from normal things had gotten. There became a very big focus on the thumbnails, right? A lot of people...
Okay. Yeah, all right. I don't know if it's the best idea to hire a junkie for a podcast like that. Okay. And? This is so fucking funny, dude. I love this guy. This guy is the one. This guy is the GOAT Caleb Hammer employee. He is the best, and honestly, Caleb should be replaced by him, actually. I think Caleb should replace this guy.
Blame me for the thumbnail changes.
No, Caleb should be replaced by this guy.
Rule. Those thumbnail conversations happened. It's like a huge company-wide thing, right? Anytime I was in those rooms, I would try to give the guests informed consent of like, hey, like, you know, we're going to take some creative liberties and stuff. Like, we're going to make fun of you in the thumbnail and title, but like, we want you to be in on the joke, right? That was like my thing. Anytime we were doing thumbnails and titles, I would try to be more funny than I was rude. I recognize now that like I was in an environment where like that strategy is like fundamentally not going to succeed. Then when people started to blame me for the more aggressive direction of the thumbnails and titles and Caleb wasn't correcting them, I realized that I was being scapegoated for the direction of the channel. Caleb is screaming more.
Everyone in this everybody who has like an issue lately has a fucking daddy issue. His fucking daddy issues. Seriously, Anissa, Ian, this guy, Hassan, Destiny, everybody has fucking daddy issues. It's so weird. So he's mad because, I don't know. Look, I'm probably going a bit too far, but like, come on. He's like, Caleb, you must correct every single thing, and I will follow you to the end. Maybe it's not daddy issues. It's like a leader.
These thumbnails and titles are egregious and horrible, right? When did this change happen? Well, the big pivot of the channel was when Noah was hired. So let's blame Noah, you know, through no fault of their own. Like, they didn't know any better, right? And so that deeply didn't sit right with me. In my opinion, Caleb began to see my role.
Dude, you don't need to cut in my opinion, for all that stupid shit. Does he have like a timer? Does he have a fucking egg timer where he's like, oh, I gotta put in my opinion here, 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 and here. Also, like, I don't know. Can you tell us like who else changed in that? Like, why aren't you the only one to blame? If you are the big change and everything changed whenever you got hired, why aren't you to blame? Prove a negative for me.
For the company, not as like a builder, not as like someone who was helping him make millions and millions of dollars. My role in the company was Caleb's garbage man. That's ultimately.
Oh my god, you got a problem with garbage man, dude?
My responsibility was, my opinion.
I tore that one from Papa God.
Was that I was Caleb's social garbage man. So like, here's how a typical week would go, right? We would have.
That sounds weird, right? Because you're bringing in the people. Oh, I guess you're bringing in the garbage. Also, why do you think so low of these people? Why do you think so low of an exotic worker? Or an exotic dancer? Or like an OnlyFans person? I can get the junkie, sure. Why do you think so low of them? Why are these people garbage to you? I thought this was supposed to be a show about helping people, and yet you consider them trash.
4 guests a week, just about, or we would try to hit that, right? I would be ridden.
I'm sure he doesn't actually think that they're trash. I'm sure it's just a misphrasing, but this guy is all about being careful. So like, why shouldn't he get the same treatment about like being careful?
My ass would be ridden until I alone casted 4 people a week. And if those people were not fitting Caleb's ideal guest archetype, I would be like, you know, reprimanded. And we would film 4 episodes a week. And what I found was that usually about 1 out of the 4 guests that we filmed with every week, they were so fucking pissed off because they came in thinking Dave Ramsey and they left realizing that they just went on like the Jerry Springer show. I eventually implemented policies to try to protect myself, where it's like, hey, let's have the guests use fake names, right? That was my policy that I really strongly pushed for.
Yeah, that was a good change. I mean, relatively. I mean, I don't think you could even find any of these people if you wanted to, but like in general, I do think it's good just for OPSEC. On the other hand, I don't actually have another hand. I don't know where I was going with that.
Because it's like there's no upside to them using their real names and like actually just like tanking their public reputation. Why are they doing that?
Wait, why would they be tanking their public reputations if they were using their real first name? They don't say their like first and last name and address on their fucking videos like you do. They're not tanking their public rep. What the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Why has this not been implemented like fucking a year ago? In my opinion, the show is disgusting. Like why would we have these people actually share their real information with the world as they're like doing character assassination kamikaze attempts?
What
right?
the
like,
fuck? Character assassination kamikaze. That's a great word. I just don't know what the fuck you mean by it. Lord.
Fucking crazy. So in an attempt to cover my ass, you know, it's like, hey, let's use fake names. You know, I had Caleb do the onboarding video, right? I wrote the script for the onboarding video, but like, in my opinion, it seemed to me like it's like double speak. What I was trying to do was have like a high degree of transparency, and instead, that said, like, you know, that video is an attempt at transparency, but like, I think that the ultimate goal of that video was that it gave more, it allowed.
Dude, just cut this entire fucking part out if you're just gonna censor the whole thing. Jesus Christ. All you're letting people do is speculate what you're saying about minorities. Okay. Why would you say that? Why would you say that about minorities and then cut it out? Oh. Cat time. Hi, cat. What video are you watching? I am watching... Oh, you know, honestly, I probably should change it so that it has the title and channel under it. Let me fix that. 350? It is Caleb Hammer fired me, then sent me the footage. It is Caleb Hammer's former producer. And he's complaining about how Caleb Hammer tortured him by him agreeing to a job. And it turning out not exactly how he expected.
Oh, the audience believes that like everything is totally transparent and above board because we made this video. Anyway, once a week, a guest would leave our studio or their thing would be posted, and this person...
Also, so far, like, all the complaints that he's had, every single one that he's brought to Caleb has resulted in, like, Caleb changing, like, the way things are run completely. Not completely, but, like, he's like, acquiescing. He's giving in to the changes that Noah is requesting. And yet, at the same time, he's like, fucking Caleb is so fucking evil.
Would be so fucking pissed off. They were ready to either sue or come after us or fucking do some crazy shit, in my opinion. And so what I realized is like, I'm the garbage man, right? Like people, it was so funny to me. The frame was Caleb and...
Stop referring to people as garbage, dude. I don't like that. I really don't like that. Unless they're like an evil person or a person who you're like making drama videos about for clout or for like entertainment. Why are you calling them garbage? Stop doing that.
Are so introverted that they just can't handle any sort of like communication with the guest because they're very, very introverted. And so like I became the point of contact with all of the guests. I had my cell phone. I was deeply afraid. There was this one specific app that we would use for guest communication. I remember being so fucking afraid of that app on my phone. I would constantly live in fear. You know, I would get text messages on Sunday or like Saturday night at 11 o'clock from people who are so deeply furious, people who have mental health conditions, all sorts of different people. The guests of the show, you know, would reach out to me and they'd be like, hey, this fucked up thing happened as a result of me coming on the show. What the fuck? Just like constant PR nightmares.
I mean, that sounds like a PR nightmare for them, and you don't really even have to respond. You're not like legally obligated to respond. I mean, that sucks. And I wouldn't be like opposed to having some kind of what is it called? Reparations for like potentially harming their inner life. Sure. Okay. I don't understand what the point he's making though. It's just like, oh, I feel bad. I feel bad because people talk to me negatively. And I'm the one who put them in a situation to even talk like that. I don't know. A lot of these people have like fucking ruined lives anyway. They're picking themselves up from the ashes of a horrible fucking credit history. Like, sure, they're gonna get blowback. and they're going to talk about it publicly, they're going to get in trouble. They could also just watch Caleb Hammer and get basically the same information about, oh, fuck, I really do need to fix all this shit. I don't know. Seems like a bullshit complaint to me.
In my opinion, situations that Caleb himself, in my opinion, that then were put onto me to solve. That alone was so psychologically difficult to handle, because the expectation is like, no matter what time of day, if somebody decides to text you with a problem, you jump on it right then, because they could be a potential PR nightmare if they fucking blow up, right? So if they blow up and they blow the fucking roof off of this fucking thing, my job ends.
Blow the roof off of this thing kind of implies that people don't know what it's really like, but I kind of imagine that I have a decent idea of what going on Financial Audit is like. I haven't gone on it. Explain that, bucko. Explain that, buckaroo. Because the way that I imagine it is you sign up, you go through their process, you get there, and they're like, hey, you know what? This isn't exactly the economic show that you're used to, the finance show that you're used to. We will insult you. We will berate you. This is more of a comedy thing. But we will also do our best to provide financial advice throughout in terms of just getting your life picked back up together. So is that your sacrifice? Are you going to do this publicly and potentially embarrass yourself for getting your life back together? Potentially. That's kind of what I imagine it's like. At least that's what I make that's what I imagine it's like. Maybe it's not.
Reputation ends, right? I'm suddenly a part of this fucking machine, right? So if one of these fucking people nukes this,
it grinds people down, it chews them up, it spits them out, it throws them out onto the street, it makes them destitute.
Right? So it doesn't matter if it's 10 p.m. on a fucking Thursday. I have to defuse the bomb, right? And then I frantically text Caleb every single time one of these fucking bombs comes.
Okay, what does Caleb say?
And so the whole time, I'm begging. I'm like, Caleb, we have to treat these people with respect. We have to offer some level of baseline respect to these people, right? Because like I can't be in a system where I'm the garbage man. Because once a week, one of these motherfuckers is furious, right? In my opinion, we're building a system that.
Dude, what are you talking about? I hate this in my opinion edit. I want it gone. I never want to fucking see it again. Get this in my opinion shit out of my fucking face.
That is, in my opinion, by definition, unsustainable. If like one erratic person is added to the pile every single week and I'm supposed to deal with that, right? Eventually, like this is going to pop. Eventually, this bubble is going to pop. So we need to create a system where people don't get fucked by this machine. I would march into that office and I would beg those motherfuckers. I'd say, hey, we need values. What are our values? And the reason why I would beg for that is because I wanted stuff that showed transparency. I couldn't sleep with what we were doing. In my opinion, right? Like we were so fucked. What we were doing was so fucked. In my opinion, it was so fucked to me that I needed something to prove to myself that like what we were doing was on some way ethical, right? And so I'm like, hey, can we write some fucking values? Can we paste them to the wall? Can we put them in the fucking like waiting room? Like let's fucking write about our values. And in my opinion, these motherfuckers would make fun of me. They would make fun of me. You know, they'd be like, well, we have 3 values, you know, because at the beginning I got them to write down some values, right? The values were that would beg him to get
safety.
fucking.
What? What? Wait, he can't say the fucking values or he'll get sued? It's got to be out there, right? Caleb Hammer values. Does he have values? Caleb Hammer company values? Does he value anything in life besides money and fame? Oh, no, it actually does say it. Okay. So Caleb Hammer's mission described on his website is sharing the advice he wished he had, having open conversations about finances, offering practical oh, that's just bullshit. That's just like random stuff that he said. That's not like a value list.
Certified. I would beg Robert, Caleb's business partner. I'm like, hey man, fucking convince Caleb to take some sort of financial education certification thing, because like my job was so difficult because like my job was to find someone who knew less about.
This guy doesn't realize, but like Caleb Hammer's job isn't to offer financial advice. He's not there to tell you which like fucking gas station to buy, which stocks to invest into. He's giving like extremely basic advice. That's just like, stop using credit cards, fix your debt, and get a 6-month emergency fund, and make sure you have a retirement. That's like the 4 biggest things that Caleb fucking harps on about every episode. I don't like watching it because it kind of gets a little boring. And it's like, come on. He's not there. That's not his job to tell you to go invest in Microsoft. Go put your life savings into Microsoft and wait until it fucking explodes in value. Then you can pay off all of your debt ever.
Finance than Caleb Hammer, who was in a bad financial situation. In my opinion, you know, they would come on the show, Caleb would rip into them, right? And then it would kind of be on me to kind of clean up the blood, right? Make sure everybody was good enough, you know? Oh, that was for fun. That was for fun. You know, and by the way, like, you signed all these documents. That was all a joke, right? That was my job. If you want my opinion, this is my opinion. My role was there so that Caleb didn't have to feel the consequences of his own actions. Every day scared the shit out of me.
Oh my God, no way. It sounds like you were making it reach him anyway. It sounds like you were going up to him every single time you felt a consequence and telling Caleb about it, okay? It doesn't sound like he never felt the fucking consequences of his own actions. Apparently he had an extremely whiny, crying fucking employee around him all the time. Jesus. Sorry if that's harsh, but that's what it sounds like. It sounds like every time you had a problem, you went to him whenever you're the producer. You're the guy who is supposed to solve those issues. The only thing that I get about this, there are 2 issues that I do think I completely understand. 1, he's working more than 40 hours a week. He's working for a YouTuber, but still, that is a little bit much. 2, he's kind of getting underpaid for how much he works. If he actually is working 60 hours a week, not sure that he is, but he says that he is. If he actually is working 60 hours, he's making $3,000 a month? Well, that's a little low for the Austin area. I mean, for 40 hours, that's low, but for 60 hours, that's very low. I can see the guests that came on for the first episodes after the pivot where they were expecting Dave Ramsey and no released episodes showed them Jerry Springer. They could have had a case, but after a year, you know what you were getting into. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's another thing is that this is one of the things that could potentially be contentious is that maybe behind the scenes, you got to remember, well, you probably do. Sounds like you watch the show. But like a lot of the people don't watch the show. Like a lot of the people that are going on to the show, the Fin Audit, like maybe they'll watch a couple of like shorts. And I think now it's policy. I feel like I vaguely remember hearing it that like guests do have to watch some of the show before they go on. But like, maybe at first it was advertised like that it is going to be like a Dave Ramsey thing. And yeah, maybe if they only caught the first, like they're like, oh yeah, I've watched Financial Audit, and they watched like the really like soft toned, like, oh, here's where you went wrong. This is what you gotta fix. That kind of stuff in the first like year or 2. I could get that, but like this guy is not making that point. This guy is like, he's going in, he's the producer after the switch, and he's like, oh my God, we're not Dave Ramsey. Oh my God, I'm not fucking Dave Ramsey right now. I am not Dave Ramsey pilled. I'm not Dave Core. It is insane. It is kind of like, you gotta know what you're getting into. All right.
These people would come to us and they would have mental health issues. They'd be like, hey, I'm really depressed. I have like multiple personalities, right? I have bipolar disorder. People would say that shit to me over the phone, right? Here's the other thing is that like I've wanted to be a YouTuber my entire life. I've done production my entire life. I fucking love people. I love people, right? And I took my job extraordinarily seriously.
I don't think so. I don't think he does. I don't think he takes his job seriously at all. You can, like, I'm going to cite it every single time, but you can look at your own channel and it's awful. You barely upload. I don't even know what he's trying to get to be his job right now since he got fired. What, like 3-4 months ago? February, so that's 4 months. But he's not working on YouTube. He's kind of just bullshitting. This is my thing. I think this is like a cry for help almost. This is him going out and being like, guys, I need, look, I'm creating drama right now, but I swear it's only because I need the money. Something along those lines, because this is like insane. It's not like insane, it is insane.
Right? Extraordinarily seriously. I would talk to these people for hours and hours and hours before they ever showed up to the studio. I would know every single thing about them because ultimately I genuinely wanted to help them change their behavior so that they could lead to better outcomes, right? I wanted to make the best show we possibly could, but I also wanted to help these people because I cared about them. And so they would disclose to me that they have all of these mental health issues. And so I became paranoid about that too. And every single intake I did, I said, you know, hey, let us know if you have any mental health issues. And suddenly, like, if you had any mental health issues, you were suddenly not welcome on the show because like I didn't want to be responsible for somebody taking their own life and then blaming me for that, right? I didn't want to be complicit in that.
That's pretty harsh. I think that's probably a good idea though, is to not bring on people who would potentially do that. It's like, oh, it feels bad because Caleb is so harsh, he would cause that. I don't know how to take that, honestly. I mean, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, you probably don't want to have that happen. I just came back and bro is still losing his shit about how he's a victim. I'm so sorry. This entire video is him losing his shit about how he's a victim. And we're only halfway through. We're 45 minutes into a, what is that? 80-minute video. So yeah. Ooh. It only gets worse.
Eventually, Caleb put me
It
in
actually
charge of
does get worse. The farther we get into this, the more boring it gets. I think after this part, it just becomes like extremely boring.
the post show, right? So I would co-host the post show with him. And during the post show, it always drove me crazy because I would give Caleb these outlines where it's like, hey, like I talked to this person for a very long time, right? I took transcripts of our conversations and I would like analyze them to pull out details as well as the notes that I took during the conversations. And I would like create psychological profiles of them. I would create like intricate bulleted lists about like, hey, these are the things that we should cover during the conversation. Here are things.
Oh, I do like this part. This part's good. To be fair, Caleb is too much on people with those financials, with these people on their finances to the ones that are unstable as hell. Yeah, totally. I agree. I think there are a lot of people who cannot handle what Caleb's doing, and they shouldn't be allowed on the show. Like, they might think that they're capable, but if they do have like a mental issue and they share that with a producer, it should be kind of like a no-go zone. Especially if it's one that's very... I don't want to say triggered. One that's like activated by the kind of intense interrogations that Caleb is doing. I wouldn't say they're interrogations, but like questioning, whatever.
That you can like hold their feet to the fire for. But here are some angles that you can take during this conversation that can...
Also, this is really funny, right? This is cosmically funny. First, he's like, Caleb is going too hard on people, especially people who have mental issues. And now he's saying that he himself, Noah, has created detailed lists of how to further, like, destroy these people. Because this is so two-faced, okay? So he's made lists of their personality traits and all the flaws that they have. And he's like, hey, Caleb, destroy them. But also crying that Caleb is interrogating these people.
Actually help them take a step back, understand their behavior, and try to actually change their lives. Caleb would sometimes not even read my outlines, right? Caleb would glimpse them. An example of this is the Mia episode, right? If you go back and you watch the Mia episode and the Mia post show, it's this woman, she's wearing a black blouse. The entire time this woman, look, Mia, I hope you're not mad.
That's green. Oh, Mia. Who's Mia? Let me go see if she found a bug. Dude, I've gotten to the point where I'm a little more interested in what the fucking cat is doing than this video. Because it is just repeatedly, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. I'm setting myself up for... Oh, she's... The cat Really likes to claw plastic. Try to keep it away. Okay.
At me, but the entire time during the entire conversation with Caleb, she fails to take accountability for anything, and she constantly is blaming all of the other people in her life. And my point during the conversation in the post show was supposed to be, hey, you notice this pattern of behavior where like you're blaming everybody else in your life? If you just took accountability for the
You are not this random woman's therapist, okay? This is going way too far for this one person. Okay? This is insane. You don't need to fucking do this. Therapy like iDubbbz? Yeah, so true. No, this guy thinks he's like a therapist. This guy thinks that like Caleb Hammer is like the god of money and the god of therapy, and that Caleb Hammer is the right guy to give this. Whenever like this is the thing. This guy is setting things up in a way where he's the victim, but if Caleb Hammer did the opposite thing, he would also be a victim. So in my mind, he's like, oh, Caleb didn't point out this person's personality flaws, so he's bad. But I completely believe that if Caleb was like pointing out the personality flaws, this guy would be like, aw, Caleb, you're so bad. Dog acting like a Nazi during the trials. Yeah, I did this, but I tried to make it better. But for ways to make it worse, and I told them how to do it. Yeah, exactly. This is insane. Yeah, this guy is fucking like he's so all over the place.
These things, and you shifted your locus of control from external to internal. If you take accountability for all of these things, you can change your behavior. During that post show, as I'm trying to explain that concept to this woman, after a show where Caleb has completely ignored all of my notes, in my opinion, about how this woman owns thousands and thousands of dollars in Funko Pops and a wardrobe that is like huge, right? Where like if she sold this shit, she could pay off a lot of her debt. During that
Okay, that's nice. Two things. One, you need to cite what fucking videos these are, okay? I'm not looking for all of these videos of all these random people you're citing. Just put a link in the video. If you're saying they're fake names or whatever, just put a link in the video. Two, selling your Funko Pop sounds like something Caleb Hammer should have done. And he was probably like, you need to sell things. And she's like, I don't have anything to sell. And they just took it at face value during the show because it is kind of rapid fire.
That post show, Caleb does a bit where he, instead of talking about how like she could change her mindset.
Who was it? He said Mia, right? So there's this girl, but this was a month ago.
I also do.
No, that's not her. She said black blouse. 7 months ago. That puts it about the right time, right?
$400,000 of bad debt without any assets, as far as I know. Yeah, you're 50.
Yes.
No, that's not her. That was a good episode, though. That lady was like throwing away her retirement and everything. There's me. Whoa. I'm surprised you get recommended to yourself on YouTube. That's kind of weird. I don't know who Mia is. Please just cite your fucking sources.
He's doing a bit where he's eating crayons, right? Now, in my opinion, one, he didn't want me to upstage him because he knew how much I cared about that fucking person compared to him. Like, I really think he knew that, like, I knew so much about her that, like, or maybe not. He probably did. I don't know. He's also like, he's genuinely such an interesting person because like you don't know how much of what he's doing is like a chess move and how much of what he's doing is him being. During that post show,
dude,
he's like,
what did he just say? How much? How? Whatever. This is why you can't cut your shit like this. You just don't know how. Look, I think he said the R word. I think he said retarded. I think he called Caleb a retard. Because he's eating crayons instead of like being a therapist for this woman.
Like eating crayons as I'm like trying to help this woman and I'm trying to explain, and you can just see me get so visibly upset, right? It's like, okay, like I've spent, you know,
I wish
6
I could find
hours
that
or
video. I
more
wish it was, like,
preparing
easy
this
to look for.
conversation, learning every single fucking thing I can about this lady, building this outline for you to change your fucking life, and you didn't even read it. And so now we've got a 20-minute post show where I can make it so that the 6 hours of work that I did trying to prep this episode isn't completely lost. And instead of that, Caleb decided to do a bit where he was just going to film himself eating crayons. Like, you know, she's going to go home to whatever chaotic nightmare life that she has, in my opinion.
How do you know she has a chaotic? Oh, he's the producer. Maybe he does. This is one of those things where I feel like I have to ask for evidence all the time, though. Because, like, I don't know, maybe she has a horrible life, but you're not showing us what it is if she does.
Well, whatever. I worked there for months and months and months. I'm eventually promoted to casting director, which is really nice. The Brent Davey episode. We get to a point where there is very little backlog. You know, there was so much going on that I was so stressed out that, like, we didn't have a backlog of episodes, and so we needed content, right? And we're all in crunch mode, right? In my opinion, people would back out. As Caleb got more and more aggressive, people would back out more and more frequently, right? In my opinion, people would, like, watch the show before they came on, and they'd be like, hey, I don't think I want to do this. So, like, I'd be fucked, right? In my opinion. And so, like, I'm like freaking out, right? Being like, cool, okay, I need a Hail Mary. I need a Hail Mary. I need a Hail Mary. And eventually I settle on this idea. I'm like, we need Brent Davey back on the show. And so I remember thinking,
oh, that's the guy. That's the really crazy guy, right? I think he's like, he's the one who antagonizes Caleb all the time. Was it Brent Davey? Davey. Yeah, this guy.
Yeah. The reason we're using a temporary studio here and the reason you got a pat down and stuff like that is because we've received almost 40 emails and we've received many death threats from you.
Yeah, dude, that's fucking crazy. He decided, dude, that's another crazy thing. Noah decided that it was worth putting Caleb Hammer's, like, life at risk against this fucking psycho. Oh, I played the wrong video.
Thinking like, okay, Brent Davey is my Moby Dick and I'm Captain Ahab, right? How can I get this motherfucker back on the show?
He loves his white whale references.
I bust ass, right? I call, it was tough to get Brent's phone number, but I finally find the right phone number. I call him. Brent doesn't want to talk to me, wants nothing to do with me, right? I eventually negotiate a situation where I'm like, Brent, like, you hate Caleb more than anything in the world, right? What if we got you to box Caleb?
You hate Caleb more than me. Let's join forces and
Would you be open to this
him?
idea? I work on this problem for like a month, right? I go back and forth with Brent for like a month. I try to coordinate a boxing gym. I go to multiple different boxing gyms.
Dude, he's into boxing too? Dude, this guy should be on fucking Creator Clash.
I coordinate with Caleb's lawyers to try to get some sort of contract written where, like, we can get them to box. It all falls through, but eventually I get Brent to come back on the show, right? I get Brent to agree to come back on the show. He says, I want this much money, cash in a bag. I say, okay, we're going to figure that out.
Oh my God.
Here is the deal. Brent was in a pretty rough situation.
Brent? Wait, his name's Brent?
He had virtually no money.
You can watch the episode. He is deranged.
I believe at this time he was sleeping in his car, and from what I remember, his family relationships seemed strained.
Because he sends death threats to people and is extremely unstable.
I saw this as an opportunity to tell a redemption story.
He was not redeemed. He was still as crazy 2 years later.
Yes, I expected some tongue-in-cheek rivalry for the show, but my ultimate intention was to actually help Brent. I viewed getting him back on the show as a redemption
He does not need financial audit. He needs to be in a fucking home.
Arc. But once the cameras started rolling, things shifted. Caleb revealed 2 custom t-shirts that featured mocking quotes from Brent's original episode. The tone wasn't exactly financial. There weren't very many documents to really talk about, and the discussion veered away from anything too helpful. What was framed as a financial audit didn't really feel like one. It felt more like a spectacle that
Brent seems like a paranoid schizophrenic, okay? I would not have put him in the same room after meeting the, like, if I had met him, I would never be in the same room as him again. Honestly. Especially after 40 emails and many death threats. No. I am not going anywhere near that guy.
I had not signed up for. We get to a point in that recording where Brent is staring at the table. He's completely incommunicado, right? He's completely done speaking. He literally tells Caleb, he goes, write down whatever it is you want me to say on a piece of paper and I will say it to you verbatim so that I can be done with this, okay? He's done.
More hearsay.
And then I heard something.
Your Honor, hearsay? Your Honor, bullshit. Your Honor, there is literally no evidence to prove this at all.
That made my stomach drop. I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, if you don't finish this conversation and talk to me for another 30 minutes, you're not going to get paid. That moment stuck with me. Whatever the intent was, the impact was clear. Someone in a vulnerable state was being cornered on camera.
I don't know. Okay. I mean, I can almost see his point with this one, but Brent is like a paranoid schizophrenic. Okay. He did beg for money. He was there for the money. He wasn't there to get help. He was there to make a bag. So I can kind of understand where he's coming from with this one, but look, you can watch the guy. You can watch the first episode with the guy. He doesn't seem sane. If the point is that he's acting, I think that's part of it. Yeah. Oh, dude, I blew up the Hiei. Fuck yeah. Sunk by the West Virginia. Fuck yeah. If the point is that he's acting and he's not actually crazy and that was all just set up for Caleb Hammer, that'd be great, but can we have more evidence of that? Or was like the first hour genuinely like antagonistic and then the rest was just acting the same way he normally acts? I don't feel like that's any of these are like crazy questions.
I remember the energy just draining from the room. It didn't feel like a show to me anymore. It felt like something else.
Also, honestly, him acting for money is literally more of a show. That's literally more of a show. That's literally like the definition of a show.
But anyway, I watched this happen, and it doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. Caleb plays hardball with Brent, and it barely works, and Brent continues to not speak. And that's when I step in, right? Because Brent and I, at this point, Brent and I have a relationship, right? And I talk.
Oh my God, you're fucking Brent?
Talk to Brent, and I go, Brent, like, you know, for a moment, screw Caleb, right? Like, don't think about Caleb for a moment. What is your plan for your life? Just tell us about that, right? And then Brent opens up about this story about like music and stuff and how he wants to be a composer and how he wants to he essentially wants to do piano and he's making original art and stuff, and his music was beautiful and that was great. But as I got Brent to keep talking,
okay, but was he making money from it? This is a financial show.
Caleb looks at me and he goes, Noah, stop talking, right? Like, Noah, stop. The way he
does he say that? Because he has the transcript available. F. Noah. Stop.
Date. Oh, sure. Yeah. I want you to actually do better, regardless of what my methods.
Well, thank you. Well, stop calling me a violent criminal and a threat to you. When I was pitching you on a boxing match, now you're smearing me before your fans. You're doing the same thing all over again.
No.
And it's called Caleb Hammer.
Willing to box. Such a good idea. It's like hitting a man in a wheelchair. Like,
oh, stop. He's not in a wheelchair.
He can't.
Are you in a wheelchair?
Anyway.
What was interesting is that I don't know how Caleb thought that I was going to punch him in the face last show.
You were shaking.
You were
in anger.
Yeah. I mean, but that doesn't result in violence.
Some people it does, and I don't know you.
To watch the.
I mean, yeah. No, that seems fair. What the fuck is wrong with this?
Commanded me to stop talking once Brent was continuing to film the show.
No, I mean, I do get it. If he's like acting and it's not like really helping, that goes against like the whole thing that Noah's there for, which is to help people for some fucking reason.
And I was so used to that at that point that it worked, and I shut the fuck up.
Brent finished the conversation after that. Afterward, I had a conversation with someone on the team where I floated the idea, hey, what if Brent had been recording that conversation? The look that I got back from that teammate said it all. That's when it hit me. The unease that I felt, it didn't just seem to be mine. It was shared. It was real. I wanted to tell a story about redemption. What happened instead was something I couldn't justify. Suddenly, I felt like I was complicit for staying.
Every
Dude, you're not like committing a crime against these people. You're farming them for money and views. What if some of them do get help? Actually, yeah, that's a good point. What if some of these people do get the help they need from talking to Caleb? I don't think Caleb's perfect by any means, but like, what if any of them are like, oh yeah, I am gonna fucking turn my life around? How does he cope with that?
Every muscle in my body is like, go do something else. Go do something else. Don't continue to relive these moments. But I'm like halfway through this, and I've never made it this far into recording this video. I've made it like 45 minutes into recording this video.
I can't imagine all the stuff that he ended up cutting out. Because like, there's got to be so much stuff here that he ended up cutting out.
But I've never made it this far, so I'm just gonna fucking do
If he
this.
didn't cut out calling Caleb Hammer a retard, what else did he not cut out?
And it's not gonna be perfect, and I probably sound manic or crazy or whatever the fuck, but I'm just gonna keep going. And eventually someday, when I achieve some level of closure, I will be able to talk about this, hopefully in a way that's like not so deeply world fucking riveting. People aren't going to understand that. They don't understand like the level of fear and fight or flight that I experience on a day-to-day as a result of this situation. They don't get it. Cool, this shit with Brink goes down. George Camel is coming into town. George Camel's coming into town to collaborate with Caleb Hammer. Oh my God, sound the alarm. George Camel, the TikTok Gen Z peeling side of Dave Ramsey, is coming to Hammer Studios, Hammer Media. What the fuck is the fucking building called? I don't fucking remember. So, George Camel is coming to film.
Don't dox the fucking building.
Something with Caleb Hammer. Caleb Hammer says, oh my God, I have an idea. The last time that we... by co-auditing him with Graham Stephan. That was kind of fun. Let's do the same thing. No, you ready for a co-audit? This time, you know, again, I'm offered, you know, it's like, hey, I can consent or I don't have to consent, but I'm thinking to myself like, you know, I really heavily consider it, right? I heavily consider it this time because now I'm disillusioned. I have watched Caleb Hammer take these people apart every single fucking day of my life for the past like 8 months. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, fuck me. Like, am I going to subject myself to this again? Right?
Yes.
My finances were in a much better position.
You are going to subject yourself to it again.
Like the emotional fallout
You're going to keep
that
subjecting it
happened
to yourself
from
until you
coming
get
on that
fucking
show the first
fired.
time was so fucking crazy. It was just so difficult to explain to
Or
anybody.
you.
The way that you feel naked in front of everyone is so strange. I'm thinking to myself, okay, like I'm supposed to do this again. Everybody in the audience was like, oh, I can't wait for Noah's follow-up. After a very, very long time where I'm like, no, I don't think this is a good idea. I eventually sit on it and I chew on it enough where I'm like, okay, fuck it, let's go. Like I've seen this guy take people apart. I am this guy's special sauce, right? Like I know this motherfucker and how he argues better than he does, right? So like, let's go. Let's be the wall, right?
Yeah.
Like I know.
Yeah, you get him,
I've seen
Tiger.
behind the curtain. So I roll up to audit number 2. You know, again, I barely slept the night before. I've been preparing for weeks, right? I've been preparing the week beforehand.
So we're going back
like
in time now? This is audit number. This is his second audit that he's been to?
Like scenarios where I'm like, okay, he's probably going to do this, and then I should probably go like this because I don't want to be humiliated again, right? The first time I went in, you know, very like green-eyed, right? Green-eyed, bushy-tailed, you know, and I remember the comments being like, oh, this guy's fucking nervous and talking too much and whatever. And so the second time I go in like this.
On our side. What the fuck?
Hi, welcome to the show. Yeah, these are my finances. Go ahead and dig through them. Yep. Whatever, we do the audit. I'm embarrassed to do the audit because, like, you know, during that month, I was spending so much money. I was not going into debt. I was not using debt at that time.
He was okay. I think I closed out of it, but he did go into debt. He was using debt. Unless you have like a statement that says otherwise, he had like $1,000 of debt to pay off whenever he did that audit, which was. He said that was like fairly recently after he started. So yeah, he was in debt. This is the part where like he just outright lies. But yeah, he's lying. This guy, I do not think he can be trusted. He is lying. You can watch the fucking Fin audit. He has like multiple credit cards and loans that he's taken.
Right, but I was spending so much money trying to cope mentally with the I was just blowing money. I was making an incredible amount of money.
What was he
and
coping
then I was
with? I'm coping with this cat. He's probably said something like he's coping with like depression and like, what is it called? Paris syndrome? There's this thing where people go to Paris and then it turns out much worse than they expected. So they end up like depressed afterwards, and it's called Paris syndrome.
was blowing just as much, trying to live with myself. And so that was kind of like why I was ashamed to do the follow-up. Towards the beginning, I explained the emotional fallout from doing the show the first time, right? I explained how difficult it was for me. I explained like what it was like to read the comments, and I explained how much respect I have for each of the people that do decide to come on Financial Audit, because it's fucking grueling. The entire audit was very passive aggressive. Now, conveniently, all of that footage was removed, right? The parts where I talk about the emotional fallout from me going on the show the first time, as well as like all this other shit about.
Away from there.
Eventually, days after, I was sent the rough cut of my conversation
my cat
with
has
George
turned off
and
my
Caleb,
computer
and
multiple times.
all of those parts of the conversation were removed.
letting it
the part
happen
where I talk about
again.
the emotional fallout was removed. The whole conversation was very strange, right? We do a stream afterwards too. And during the stream, there's a comment on the stream that's like, "Wow, it's so weird to see George around these people who are using such profanity," right? He would call the stream the Goon Squad, right?
Yeah. Okay. Dude, what
Anyway,
the
whatever.
fuck? I
We
missed
finished
it. Dude, I had like a real fucking battle of Guadalcanal. Oh my god. I mean, except they didn't like do any damage, but I fucking sunk like the rest of their fucking fleet. The Hiryu and the Zukaku. Oh my god. The Zuiho, the Ryujo, and the Shoho. Holy fuck, that's awesome. They were all sunk by Fletchers. Sorry, history spurg moment.
The fucking filming, I get a couple days later,
Oh,
the
Hugo
rough
and
cut, which is
Nagato.
supposed to just be the raw footage, in my opinion. But they had removing sections of this conversation, without any notice, right? In my opinion, like they removed all the parts where I was like, hey, going on the show the first time fucking drove me crazy.
I'm paraphrasing for comedic value. Okay, so it's okay when you do it, but when Caleb Hammer does it, all of a sudden it's a huge fucking issue.
They just snip that away. Like we don't need that. That'd be terrible. And then we do the live stream, right? On the live stream, George reads a comment about how it's weird that like he's around so much profanity, right? And then Caleb uses that as an opportunity to drop the C word. And I'm thinking to myself, wow.
Dude, this C word. It's the fucking C word, dude. He called... Look, okay, you actually can't say it on YouTube, okay? That's like an auto demonetization, auto like throttling. I have run out of manpower. Holy shit. Really? Alright, let's just do 2 15s, and that should be enough for the rest of the game, because it's fucking 44, it's almost over.
What a horribly unprofessional thing to do to another person in this space. To drop the C word after they're clearly uncomfortable about the language that's being used on the program, right? To just blatantly do that on a live stream with thousands of people watching.
Cool. You said the C word in front of George on a live stream, Caleb. You're the fucking devil. I don't know. I'm running out of like insults. You're the evilest there ever fucking was, because you said the C word on live stream in front of George. Do you know how cool George is? Do you realize that George is like your fucking god? Yeah, it really sounds like this guy was fawning over fucking Caleb Hammer.
Well, whatever. There was also a guy
he got angry there. Did you guys see that? He was getting fucking heated.
That on a live stream with thousands of people watching. Cool, whatever. There was also a guy that I deeply look up to named Chris Do, and Chris Do is this person that had helped me previously in my career. His ideas had helped me make money as I was struggling to build my own marketing agency.
No way. Did he take like a course?
That I deeply look up to named Chris Do, and Chris Do is this person that had helped me previously in my career. His ideas had helped me make
I misread the post as
was
followers.
Struggling to build my own marketing agency. I watched his videos religiously, and I had implemented a lot of his advice, and I deeply, deeply looked up to this guy. I met him at a YouTube creator event.
You need to stop looking up to people. Looking up to people seems to go really badly for you, and I think you should stop. I think you should, I don't know. It's not even like a never meet your heroes thing, because it seems like he's the consistent issue in all of these. He's the one who's got like the problems with meeting people. Yeah, I think you should stop meeting people, actually. I think it's bad for your mental health. Not meeting people in general, but stop meeting people that you look up to. I actually think that's kind of horrible for you. You seem like somebody who cannot handle it.
I talked to Chris Doe. I'm like, Chris, like, you know, I took your advice earlier in my career and it caused me to, you know, fundamentally change my life. I quit my job as a result of your advice and I built a marketing agency. Chris, what if you told me the wrong advice, man? Like, does that ever fuck with you? Thinking to myself, like, you know, I'm racked with guilt all the time. Chris Doe essentially gives me the advice from Spider-Man. He goes like, with great power comes great responsibility.
Oh my God.
A personal brand is the impression that people have about you, that gut feeling about who you are, your values, your belief systems. And you need to consistently show up as that person. So you're going to share what you know, and you're going to build this upon the experience and the things that you've actually accomplished, not the things you just read about. And there's a general rule here, which is you do personal development in private when no one's watching. And when you discover things, you teach that in public.
Like we have a...
No, I do kind of disagree. Personal development is all the time. You're always developing. You should always be developing. Jesus Christ. And you probably shouldn't show people until you actually have something good to show. That is what I have learned from many things. As somebody who has had a lot of projects that have failed, or just like I just don't carry on with them, showing them off to people is not like a great idea if you are a loser. Basically, if you make a lot of stuff and you continuously like fail to continue it, or you fuck it up in some way. I've had bad, like horrible experiences with like, oh, I'm making a game, guys. This game's gonna turn out great. Here, you can look at it. And then I don't fucking care about it in like a couple of days after talking about it. So like, I don't know. To each their own, right? Because like, I do it because I want my friends to help me. But like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a super successful YouTube channel, and it's like, oh, I'm stuck at like 100 views because I'm uploading like Let's Plays every day because I uploaded Let's Plays as like a kid. Not like a kid, I was a kid. And it's like, you know, you actually should just develop all the time, get as best as you can, and just work your way there. You know what? Your projects are your prestige, and you just, you know, when you're ready to show it off, you're ready to show it off. You don't got to show it off ahead of time. Go at your own pace.
The responsibility as content creators to do right by our audience, right? To search until we have the correct answers. And so I remember that evening after the George Camel shoot and everything, I remember staying up very, very, very late.
You shot George Camel?
I wrote, like an equation. Because like, you know, I was at that point so much that I didn't know what was reality and what was not. I remember picking 4 criteria, right? The first criteria was long-term monetary health. The second criteria was short-term monetary health. The third criteria was long-term reputation. And the fourth criteria was morally correct. Those were the 4 criteria in which I evaluated my decision on. There was a decision matrix I needed to make as well, right? I could either quit and just walk the fuck out the door. I could try to implement change, or I could do like a combination of multiple, right? Or I could do nothing. I remember sitting down and literally numerically like assigning weights and doing a weighted average of like how to conduct myself and make this decision. Morally correct was like 60% of the weight. I knew there was going to be a negative.
Ah, man. That's always horrible, like coming from somebody who like obviously has kind of fucked up morals. It's like morals are like my most important value. I value morals. It's like, okay, what are your morals? And you just hear some like fucking gibberish. Oh man, that's like iDubbbz, right? iDubbbz's most important thing is empathy, and he seems to lack it. I don't know, man. You need like a reorganization.
Short-term monetary impact to me if I quit my job, right? You know, I assigned each one a score out of 10, so that was like a 2 out of 10, right? Like I did have some savings though. I had about 3 months of savings, so like I knew that like even if I did decide to leave, like the short-term monetary impact wouldn't be completely debilitating. Then I thought long-term monetary impact, right? It's like, okay, well, probably if I left, like my long-term earning potential probably wouldn't be negatively hindered all too much. So that was like a 5 out of 10. Then it was long-term reputation, like, you staying presented like, and then morally correct. I ran these multiple scenarios, and what I ultimately came away with was I needed to leave. Leaving was probably the best option, but then I realized there was no marginal cost of trying to affect change on my way out the door, right? That's what I perceived at the time. I could tell administration, hey, these changes need to be made, and just see what happens. So I do that. The next morning, I go to Robert, Caleb's business partner. People are like, well, why didn't you just talk to Caleb about these things? And it's like, well, I did talk to Caleb about these things for months and months and months and months and months and months and months. And so it just became this like dead end, right? And so instead I just talked to Robert. So I talked to Robert in the morning. I'm like, hey, Robert, like, I'm not going to have this conversation with you because it's being recorded by Caleb on the security camera. And I want to make sure that we can have a privileged moment between you and me.
Dude, you are so fucking like paranoid. This guy is paranoid. He has paranoia. Sorry, riveting conversation, riveting talking. I know. I'm losing it here. I'm losing my mind.
Instead, we go for a walk around the facility, and I explained to Robert, I go, Robert, can you explain to me why you think some of the things that we're doing here are okay? And he goes, yeah, well, these 3 things are true about our operation and true about Caleb, meaning that all of the stuff that we're doing here is justified. I go, okay, cool. I listened to him for about 45 minutes, explain these 3 things, right? Then I give him instances where each one of those 3 things was blatantly violated by Caleb. Okay. You're saying that it's okay that we did this because he didn't do this, but that's actually not true because I can point to this situation here. We had this conversation around the building. I then tell Robert, I go,
dude, I hate this. So much stuff is so vague in this video. I just want him to give like a normal answer to something. Like, he's gonna say that he can't because of like legal reasons, but like I don't know if I fucking believe that. God, there was another situation. Who was it? I don't remember. And it was like a lot of like the contracts that people ended up signing with this person were like not even gonna ever be pursued, and they were like kind of rough, but it was because they were taken. It was like a default lawyer contract. Oh God, I wish I could remember it and provide a better example.
Robert, have you seen the fucking raw shoot footage from Brent Davey? Because like I had Robert go and look for the source footage, right? Because that was obviously removed from the edit. So I go and I get the raw footage from Brandon, or I encourage Robert to go get that from Brandon, and Robert watches that footage. Robert then goes and he talks to Caleb for some time. And it's a normal day of work, right? So we all sit back down. Now, at this point, the editing team had finished editing the episode with Brent Davey. And so it's a Friday, I think. And so like over lunch, before the guest for that day is coming in, over lunch, we all sit down and we watch the Brent Davey edit. The Brent Davey video opens with, this like joking caricature opening about how it's like a Smash Bros intro. It's framed as like a friendly rivalry. Throughout this conversation,
No, it is not framed like that. I feel like it is not framed like a friendly rivalry whenever he's like, you sent me like 40 fucking death threats. Where's the friendly rivalry in that? Oh my God.
As Caleb systematically humiliates Brent over and over and over again with each t-shirt and whatever, I just look around the room and every single person in this room is smiling and laughing. And I realize like truly like the level of dehumanization that is going on, right? It's like this man that we're laughing at right now. And we're all...
I think he just said something about suicide. I think he just said something about like this man in front of us is like potentially thinking about committing it. Oh my God. That's a little heavy. I don't know. Like, I guess so. Okay.
All sitting around.
Sorry, I don't know how to react to that.
As Caleb is literally making fun of him
for
online views and money. And I'm furious. I'm sitting there staring daggers across from myself into another production person. And Robert stops the filming. He realizes, Noah's like having a fucking mental break because I'm right. Like I watched something fucking horrible go down and I'm fucking tweaking. And so Robert stops the viewing party, right? Robert stops the viewing party. We go and we film with the guest. And then that afternoon, I'm called into Robert's office. The last conversation that I had in person with Caleb Hammer was when we recorded that last post show. I don't even fucking remember what happened during that conversation. I was disassociating the entire time. I sit down and pulled in.
You can't even fucking recall like one of the most important conversations you're talking about? Oh my God, man.
Into Robert's office, and Robert fires me, which I knew was coming. I am so
No way.
anxious right now. I'm experiencing.
Wait, so he got fired right after this video? No, this is August 19th. Did I mishear that? He said that he got fired after the Brent Davies video, right?
Staring daggers across from myself into another production person. And
Can I go back like a minute more?
for that day is coming in. Over lunch, we all sit down and we watch the Brent Davie edit. The Brent Davie video opens with, you know, this like joking caricature opening about how it's like a Smash Bros intro. It's framed as like a friendly rivalry. Throughout this conversation, you know, as Caleb systematically humiliates Brent over and over and over again with each t-shirt or whatever. I just look around the room.
Or
and
death
every
threats
single person in this
guy,
room
am
is
I
smiling
right?
and laughing. And I realize
Or
like,
little death
truly,
threats
like,
guy.
the level of dehumanization that is going on, right? It's like this man that we're laughing at right now, and we're all sitting there, sitting around as Caleb is literally making fun of him for online views and money. And I'm furious. I'm sitting there staring daggers across from myself into another production person. And Robert stops the filming. He realizes, uh-oh, Noah's like having a fucking mental break, because I'm right. Like, I watched something fucking horrible go down, and I'm fucking tweaking. And so Robert stops the viewing party, right? Robert stops the viewing party. We go and we film with the guest. And then that afternoon, I'm called into Robert's office. The last conversation that I had in person with Caleb Hammer was when we recorded that last post show. I don't even fucking remember what happened during that conversation. I was disassociating the entire time. Okay. I sit down, I'm pulled into...
So it sounds like there was like a pretty fucking important conversation happening. You just stopped reacting in the middle of it. That's great, buddy. That's awesome of you. Okay.
Robert's office, and Robert fires me, which I knew was coming. I am so
great.
Anxious right now. I'm experiencing so many different emotions, like mentally reliving all of these things, that like it's difficult for me to articulate, I think, some of the nuances of this. But like, you don't understand how much that fucking hurt me. You don't get it, right? Because even though Caleb is, in my opinion, even though he put me through all of this shit, right? Like,
I wish you did.
Caleb Hammer
I want to hear what he has
was
to
one
say.
of my best friends. People don't.
I trust you, Noah. I trust that you have exactly accurate and true things to say, and that you would not lie, that you would not break a non-disparagement agreement by lying, and you are telling the truth. Let me hear what you have to say. Hashtag free Noah Chrysler.
Understand that. Even Caleb like to diminish our relationship to like, oh, well, you know, he just works here. But like, we were essentially like comedy duo partners, like on his post show. We had a very, very...
Dude, he's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'm freaking out. You hate Caleb Hammer. You've talked about this video so much about hating him, and then you're like, oh, we were buddies, we were great. And then like the rest of this video is you talking about how every single thing that you disagreed with him with, and that Caleb fixed anyway, and now you're such great buddies. What is wrong with this guy?
Like, it was strange for sure, but like, I don't think Caleb is very close to very many people, and I'm not super close to very many people either. We were buddies, right? We were fucking good buddies.
I thought you hated him. I thought this entire video was about how you hated him
like
secretly.
the fawning thing. Like, I used to joke on the show all the time that Caleb was my dad. That was a joke that I would tell all the time.
It's dad issues. It's always dad issues with all of these people. It's always daddy issues. Jesus Christ.
Time, you know, even jokingly referring to somebody as your father, there was a closeness between us that was implicit to me and very important to me.
He's mind broken. He's absolutely mind broken.
And then to be fired, you know, to be fired by like, to not even be fired by that person, right? To have him have his buddy do the dirty work, right?
His buddy do the dirty work. You're his buddy, dude. My lord. That's insane. That's mind-blowing. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? This guy... his problem is that his dad is always disappointed in him. I don't even think it's because he's, like, a bad kid or whatever. I mean, he's probably older than me, honestly. I don't think he's, like, a bad person, but, like... No, I do think he's a bad person. This is horrific. This is actually terrible. But like his dad's disappointed in him because he's launched like 5 YouTube channels that never get past 1,000 fucking subscribers. He's like, he's not hitting him. It sounds like he's actually kind of fine or whatever. Like he doesn't talk about his dad that much, but like he's like begging for father approval. And Caleb Hammer, a guy who's probably younger than Noah, honestly, became his dad and was disappointed because Noah keeps fucking bitching all the time about nothing in Caleb's mind.
So anyway, I get home, and as I'm being fired, Robert, he proposes this idea to me that, like, you know, they'll pay me if I sign their severance
That sounded like $5,000
agreement. It's an NDA that
I'm no lawyer, but it seemed like a pretty strong
and
NDA.
So, you know, the deal is put on the table of sign this deal, get paid your and get the fuck out. I tell Robert during the interaction that I need at least 2 weeks in order to evaluate that decision, but I knew deep in my fucking soul that I was never going to fucking sign a piece of paper like that. That evening, as this negotiation is on the table, Caleb Hammer texts me the security camera footage of me being fired, right? Of Robert firing me.
Dude,
the next morning,
awesome.
he sent me an email.
Wait,
about,
so you weren't even properly fired yet, and he sent you the video? Wait, no. This might be too much, but was Caleb actually giving you a chance to like redeem yourself? It's like, hey, look at this footage here. Like, fix it, do whatever. I think that's looking into it too much. No, look, I mean, that's probably awful getting sent that after you think that you've been fired, but it sounds like you still had some time to be like, all right, I fucked up. I'm super sorry. Let me try to fix it. I could be totally wrong, though, honestly.
Oopsie. I had confided in him, right, multiple times on his show that I had trauma around being fired. That night, after I received that text message from Caleb Hammer, I immediately freaked the fuck out. I was terrified, right? I was terrified. Caleb Hammer knew where I lived. I lived less than a mile from his studio. I lived less than a quarter mile from his studio.
Dude, everybody knows where you live now. You did horrible OPSEC. You basically like revealed where you fucking live.
Doorstop because I had no idea what was going to happen, right? My sense of safety was gone. My sense of safety was fucking obliterated in that moment.
That's what sucks
I get
about
the email
this
the
guy.
next morning, which is plausible.
He's terrible.
Deniability, in my opinion. Caleb says, oh, whoopsie, I accidentally sent you the footage of your own firing, right? My mother immediately flies down to Austin, Texas, right? She drops everything. I was so mentally fucked up that like I was genuinely like terrified, right? I go to a lawyer and I essentially decide this. I decide I'm not signing anything. That's why his dad does
and
not
I
like
essentially
him. Propose
he's a disappointment. Dude, okay, look. This guy has not had a single successful project, okay? I don't even know him and I'm disappointed in him. Okay? He's gone through 3 different marketing firms, blew through his life savings on the 3rd one, fucking ruined like his friends' fucking careers when he invited them to work at it and probably fucking crowd or friend fund his studio. And then he goes to work at Caleb Hammer's and he's like ruining his own job. And he started like 5 different fucking YouTube channels that also don't go fucking anywhere. Yeah, the guy kind of sounds like a disaster. The guy kind of sounds like a fucking poisonous person. Where he's like ruining other people's projects whenever he gets to them. Like, he's not unskilled. He does certainly have skill, or else like fucking the Caleb Hammer show couldn't get as far as it did. But he sounds terrible. Does he have a single successful thing that he can be proud of? I've held down a pretty firm job for a while now. I at least have that. This guy doesn't even have a fucking look. He's not ugly. He's a semi-handsome guy who probably works out a little bit. He could get a girlfriend. I don't even think he has that. Like, I don't know if this guy has anything. Like, no wonder he's, like, scratching out for some fucking internet relevance. And you know what he's going to do? He's not even going to continue making anything that makes him popular. He's going to do stuff that, like, enshittifies his channel, where he's going to go back to making dumbass fucking loser financial stuff that nobody cares about. Like, I'm gonna be the next Dave Ramsey. You can't be the next Dave Ramsey. There's already a Dave Ramsey. You can't be the next Caleb Hammer either. Maybe if he was like nicer to the guests and he did like a sort of Caleb Hammer thing, that'd be fine. That might violate a non-compete, but
this to them. I proposed like a mutual peace treaty because like if Caleb told a story definitively about my departure from that company, I knew I was going to spend so much time rewriting the public narrative that like I couldn't have that, right? So I'm like, look,
That's exactly
if
what
you
you're
talk
trying
about
to
this
do
at
right
all,
now,
then
though,
I
isn't
will
it?
talk about this too. I will agree to not talk about this situation if you agree to not mention me. And they go for that, which is great. That buys me time. That's
Bro, he's even being like super malicious there. Holy shit. He's only saying like, I'm going to be like nice and please give me 2 more days to make a decision. Fucking so that he can make a fucking like Caleb Hammer destroyed video. And it takes him fucking like what? Like how long has it been? Like 9 months, 10 months? Holy hell.
said, it also makes me walk on eggshells for the next like 6 months of my life, right? If you don't talk about me, I won't talk about you. That's the armistice that we have for multiple months. My mom flies down. I'm fucking terrified. We take all my shit. We sell most of it, right? I literally lose thousands of dollars in value of my shit just because like I'm like, get me the fuck home, right? I sell all my shit because I'm fucking terrified. People don't understand that like I genuinely feared for my safety. And
I had to do the exact same thing during COVID. I had to like leave college and leave all the shit I had in college to come home. I lost like maybe $1,000 worth of stuff. I get that. That feels terrible. I understand that. But that was like a weird pandemic thing that nobody knew what was happening. This is you being really bitchy.
And you can make fun of me of that. Like, I don't care. But like, I genuinely to my core was like, this man is powerful. So get me the fuck home. And in less than a week, I sell all my shit.
Oh, right. I forgot. He's a paranoid schizophrenic. So he thinks that Caleb Hammer is coming to kill him. Right. Where he says, no, guys, I didn't think that. I was just fearing for my safety from Caleb Hammer. But I didn't think he was coming to hurt me or beat me up or anything. But I did buy all this defensive equipment because of Caleb Hammer. Fucking what the fuck?
And we drive from Austin, Texas back to New York. The drive is about 22 hours or something. You know, if you have
22 hours in 2 weeks, right?
No traffic. And we had traffic. I did this in 2 days, right? I was so scared that we shoved all of my shit in my car after selling what we could. And we fucking haul ass back to Syracuse in 2 days. I drove, of the 22 hours, I think I drove like 18 of them or 17 of them by myself.
Stop telling people information about where you or your parents live. What the fuck, dude?
My mom did like a little bit of the relief. And suddenly I'm back home.
Such a loser. Here's some embarrassing cringe stuff about me. Please do not make fun of me.
I'm having trouble with this because this is awful to talk about. Like, I bet nobody's going to fucking even watch this late into the video. If you watch this late into the video, post a comment. At this point, I'm back in New York, right? I'm back in New York. Like, my mind is racing, right? I'm like, okay, you know, how do I come out on top from all this, right? That's like.
I don't want to get banned. I feel like leaving comments
build a
on
company,
YouTube is like
not
a fast track to
realizing
getting
at the
banned.
time like how deeply psychologically fucked up I am from all of this, right? I don't realize that I'm like I think I'm like hard.
Well,
right?
especially
I think I'm like,
comments
oh, fuck
on
it. I don't
stream.
realize that I think I'm like Iron Man 1, right? And I realize,
dude, this is just
upon
like my
reflection,
Marvel movies.
I'm actually Iron Man 3 when he starts to have like PTSD fucking like flashbacks and shit, and he has like a panic attack, and Jarvis is like, dude, I think it's just you freaking the fuck out, right?
How did you get out of the wormhole?
I thought I was in Iron Man 1.
This is just like my
I'm
epic
trying
Marvel
to
movies.
talk to my old friends. I'm trying to reconnect with my old friends. I go social media dark. I'm just trying to
Wait, no. Did you break up with all of your friends when you left? You're like, ha, I work for Caleb Hammer now, so fuck you guys.
be a person again. My first goal is to get out of my parents' house, and I'm like, okay, we have this building. It's like a small cottage. We have this in our family, but like it was kind of falling apart. There was some shit that needed to be done, some work that needed to be done on it. And I'm like, okay, let's crawl. How can I make forward progress in my life? Let's get the fuck out of mom and dad's house. I'll go fix up this place. And I did that. My dad helped a ton. So suddenly I have like a place where I can like be alone with my thoughts, right? Which is so wonderful. I know I need money, so I go and I get 2 bartending jobs and I'm serving drinks as a bartender eventually.
I mean, that's
as I start to go through my daily life, I notice certain
jobs.
cracks, right? I notice certain cracks within me, right? My buddy has a bachelor party and I go to the bachelor party and there's like a minor conflict, and like normally at earlier points in my life this wouldn't have been like a big deal, but like I realized that like I'm so incredibly emotional as a result of going through this situation that like I'm starting to realize this, right? I'm starting to realize this in interactions with people in my life, right? I talk to my parents and I freak out, right? I talk to my friends and I freak out, right? And I'm like, what is happening? And I begin to realize like, oh my God. Like,
you begin to realize that you really need to see a therapist because something ain't right.
I'm fucked up. Right? It's so hard to explain to people who have never had significant mental health struggles before what it's like to become aware that like you might not be mentally well as a result of the experiences that you've experienced.
My diagnosis is that you've experienced
So like I know it's very possible to obtain fucking mental illnesses, but I think that's a bit rich to be like, I became mentally ill from working with Caleb Hammer. That's a little much for me. That's that's kind of weird, okay? I don't think you should be saying that you got mentally ill because you worked with Caleb Hammer. That feels like very disrespectful to people who do have like actual mental illnesses. Like, not to be like such like a lib about it, but what the fuck? Like, there are people who are literally born with clinical depression. There are people who are born with like OCD and anxiety and like have to deal with it for their entire childhoods. And then you're saying that you got shit from working a job where you met somebody who you thought was different. I think you were a nut job before. I think you were crazy before the fucking this all happened. I think you're actually like genuinely a nutcase who needs to go to like a mental hospital.
a severe anxiety attack.
Me? After weeks and weeks and weeks of people telling me what to do and, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't talk about it, right? 'Cause everyone I'm surrounded by, I was so afraid when I came back. I was just telling them all of the horrible things that Caleb could do to me if he so choose, right? If I navigated the situation in the wrong way.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? We don't know what this is because he's crazy. He might be saying Caleb Hammer could hire a fucking hit squad to kill me, or he's saying that, like, oh, Caleb is just like, he could ruin my online reputation, which are very different things. I don't know what to think about this guy in that sense. I don't know what he's talking about.
Wait, maybe he could sue me. Maybe he could send somebody after me. Maybe he could send
okay, no, there he goes. He could sue me, or he could send an assassin, a black web assassin.
Have an investigator after me. Maybe he could try to slander my online reputation. Maybe he could try to make it so that I could never get hired in this industry ever again. He could blacklist me. Maybe he could do all these things. I would tell
YouTubers do not talk to each other that much. This guy has no knowledge.
Everybody in my life all these things like ad nauseum, right? And so like they started to mirror those statements back to me, right?
Knowledge.
I didn't even think about that. And so like they deeply would discourage me from ever making anything like this, right? Everyone in my life would be like, oh, like they would be so they were gripped with such fear. But I've wanted to make content my entire life. So I started to realize it's like, okay, I need to make incremental crawling progress forward in any manifestation. So I started with an audio only podcast. I started with Brain Juice, right? The idea that like let's just like talk. So I started an audio only podcast, and the first episode was kind of a janky mess, but like, you know, it's essentially me saying like, hey, like I'm going to figure this out. It's essentially me throwing down the gauntlet of like, I'm going to figure out how to do this. And that's what that first episode is supposed to be. And in every subsequent thing, like what I realized eventually was that like I was trying to like put my psyche back together. I was trying to put back together an identity, because in one moment, as soon as Robert fired me from that company, my identity had shattered. For some reason, as I was like making stuff, like I felt compelled.
Your entire identity was held for a job that you held for like 6 months. That was your identity? Dude, this guy's crazy. This guy should probably be in like an asylum or something. Every single dude, there are so many red flags. There are so many red flags. This looks like a walk at the Kremlin. God damn.
I was experiencing so many intense emotions. This whole situation made me deal with like years and years and years of repressed trauma. I started a series called My Failure Resume, where I would go through my past projects and I would talk about how the deeply ingrained shame and embarrassment that I felt from each one of them. And as I unpacked that shame and embarrassment, I went back and I made a few apologies. And
Dude, you don't need the internet is not your therapist. The internet is not there to be your fucking therapist. Go to a therapist.
Back and I corrected my own record, right? I wanted to make sure that the public saw me for what I actually was.
I don't know.
I wanted people to understand like, oh, like this is like a fucking builder, right? This person is like compulsively building these things because it drove me insane. They thought that Caleb was my savior. It's like Caleb Hammer is not my savior. I am fucking crazy, right? I build
Oh my god. Yeah, you are fucking crazy.
I fucking build shit and and I'm fucking hungry. And so it felt like he was stealing that identity from
if you build shit and you're hungry, it means you're bad at building.
Me. And I wanted to first take back that identity because at my heart, at my core, I'm an entrepreneur and someone who builds.
You are not an entrepreneur. You have no money. You are insanely in debt. You are not any of these things.
Establishing that as my identity was my first objective. I start making stuff. I start putting out stuff, in the cadence that I can. I try to audio only at first, and then we add video in. Some of it has traction. In the video that I made about the RIT newsman, I'm like, oh, it'd be really funny to fuck with him and try to like position it in a way that's like, hey, like I got fired. And then I made the beginning of the video like super ambiguous so that it was like, hey, like maybe Noah talks about.
Dude, this guy might actually be like the next lolcow. Like, he's not on the level of Ricada or Christian or anything like that, but he seems like a lolcow.
This time. Cool. Eventually, I build up the balls and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go back and retroactively correct some of these narratives that were spun about me, about my departure from Hammer Media. I was on the creepy Caleb Hammer subreddit. I put out all this video. I try to work with these people to, make all this shit. And I think on some level, I decided like, okay, I don't think I need to make a video about this situation because like I can go and conquer the world with my own content.
Situation is like crazy.
And ultimately what I realized is what I've been trying to do is make a vlog. And in creating the first episode of the vlog, the original name of my channel was Noah Chrysler TV. This vlog is going to be the relaunch of Noah Chrysler TV. And on television shows, the pilot episodes are always like, where are we starting? Where does the story start? In Community, the story starts with Jeff Winger, being demoted from a lawyer. He was disbarred and now he's going to community college, right? That's the beginning of his story, right? That backstory is very important to the premise of Community. Shit. I created the first episode of Noah Chrysler TV with that mindset, right? It's like, what's the backstory that leads up to this, right? And so I recorded this very deeply angry monologue in the woods. And as I'm cutting it, I'm just realizing like, this is not usable. Like I'm not going to come across in the ways, like I need to be meticulous with this. And I can't be meticulous with this because like I can't make it both meticulous, but also entertaining. So eventually you will probably see that episode. But this is why I'm making this video is because I realized I just needed to communicate as much of it.
You know what's funny is this guy like recommends like Moby Dick and whatever. He like keeps citing Moby Dick and he keeps like going through Moby Dick. And it's like, dude, have you read any other fucking books? Can you use any other metaphors? This guy needs like a rapid injection of knowledge. He needs to watch like 20 movies and read 10 books a day. Like, I like, please, like, watch The Godfather. Watch Godzilla. Go read fucking, everything, I guess? Like, every philosophical book. Go read Machiavelli. Go read Plato's The Cave. Go read Metamorphosis. I don't fucking know, dude. This guy needs a lot. He needs a lot.
This information as possible to you before giving you that context.
The internet can't give it to him.
The public violation. Caleb breaking his
promise. I
actually
think you can learn a lot of shit from the internet, but like a lot of people use it as their therapist. When it's like, no, there's like a lot of learning experiences you can do. That is not. It's not begging for therapy from people.
His sanitized story gaining traction on
or
Reddit,
begging for money
with facts, timeline, and receipts. I send Caleb's team a message. I'm going to go correct these old false narratives about me over on Reddit that your audience, they're all spreading speculation. So I jump into those threads and I clarify. Before I did that, I sent communications to Caleb Hammer and his team. I'm like, look, I will not tolerate false narratives being spread about me in this situation. It is one of the most traumatic situations of my fucking life. I go take to Reddit after that and I correct the record. 2 days later, Caleb jumps into a Reddit thread and if you look back at my content since the start of since the relaunch of my channel.
Caleb needs to stop hiring these crazy people. Caleb needs to like have a psychological vet of every person who he ever thinks about hiring ever again.
There are seeds sown through all of my content about this situation. I'm talking about past traumatic situations from my life. I'm talking about other stuff, but I'm talking about that in the wake of this situation, this fucking mental nuclear bomb that I went through. The last video that I posted to this channel, it's supposed to be a dream sequence, right? Where it's supposed to be about like, hey.
Wait, the last video you posted was your hiring video.
Like, imagine this idea that like you could wake up, become self-aware in your own life as if you're in a lucid dream. You could make an application video that gets you sent halfway across the country so that you can go and fucking work on a show that's seen by millions of people. You could lucid dream in your own life, take control of your own life and fucking write reality, right? But then what if that lucid dream becomes a waking nightmare? What if you get caught in a web that you didn't see? People are going to call me a clout chaser. People are going to call me all sorts of fucking horrible, fucked up shit. But like, look, here's the facts of that. I've been making content for over 10 years. I am not a successful content creator. I don't have a critical mass of audience. I don't have critical mass of people that support me. And you know what? This video will probably be one of the most viewed things I've ever made in my entire fucking life.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
You know what? People are going to be like, well, you know what? He's only attacking Caleb because whatever. And you know what? That's not true. That said, I've been trying to become a content creator for the past decade.
It does seem like you are only attacking him because of that. Because if you look at like all the videos he made between getting fired and this video, all of them are failures. All of them are like, this is the only one that has like marginal success. Otherwise, you're getting my views. You're getting the views I get on my videos. Not even my good ones. My good ones break his like highest viewed videos, except for Caleb Ham. I don't think they're good, but they got a lot of views. I thought they were good at the time. I don't think so anymore. I think I improved. But like this guy, he's uploading like, I don't know, like weird art pieces and then like bullshitting and then like algorithm manipulation videos, and it's like, do you even know what the fuck you want?
And I've failed at it. I'm trying to make things systematically and produce things at a regular cadence, but I have a attention deficit disorder, and so it makes execution of those things very difficult, right? I'm working with a team of people right now that is very, very successful and like really good.
Are you taking anything for it? Are you getting help? Do you have a therapist? Do you have a psychoanalyst? Do you have a shaman? Do you have like a witch or a hag who is providing you with like some remedies maybe? Cause it doesn't seem like it. Yeah, I don't know. I know what I want to do. I want to do two things, and like exclusively two things. I want to make videos about games, and I want to do drama, and that's it. I know what I want to do. I'm doing both of them. Okay. I'm not like becoming ginormous in the algorithm, but this also isn't my only job. This isn't my main thing. So like, can't this guy do the same thing? I guess he's working 2 jobs at a bar, right? Or 2 different bars. I don't know.
Good and experienced at what they're doing to try to help me build a content creation mechanism and machine. I'm collaborating with people nowadays that like...
Nah, dude, he wants to make a fucking content farm. He wants to make a content factory. This guy wants to be the next Illuminati. Jesus, I haven't thought about her in fucking ages.
You know, would have blown my mind 2 years ago, which is fucking awesome. But like that said, like this is very, very, very early, right? And I fucking bust my dick off trying to make amazing shit. But
you really don't. You do not bust your cock off, bust your dick off. You are making nothing but debt and failed projects.
Gets a couple hundred views here and there. So like I get it. But like, I want this really, really fucking bad. I want this so much that I tried to make it happen for him, right? I tried to make my own little microcosm of a career from his machine, and it left me broken and fucked up, right? And so now I'm just going to try to do it on my own, right? And that's probably going to come with slower growth. It's probably going to come with less resources. It's probably going to come with more pain and more stumbling.
This is a mistake a lot of amateur YouTubers make, including me. I made it too. That's how I know. People like really heavily overinvest into stuff that they are like don't have like the first idea of how to do properly. So they'll like buy like super expensive microphone, super expensive camera. They'll buy like they'll get subscriptions to like Adobe Premiere or the Photoshop, and then they'll like, oh, I just really want to do YouTube. This is what I really want to do. And it's like they're putting in none of the effort required. And it's like it doesn't even require a lot of consistent effort, I don't think, to be a monetizable YouTuber. I think he's monetized now, maybe. But like it does require a lot of effort to like cross that boundary. If you're just trying to make like a side hustle out of it, that's pretty reasonable, easy to do. But like this guy doesn't know the first fucking thing. I don't think he watches anybody on YouTube. I think he watches like shorts. I think he doesn't know the first thing about actual YouTube making YouTube videos. And it, like, you know, it requires some investment. You need a microphone that doesn't sound like shit. Sure, but you don't need like a giant fucking camera. Can you stop? I'm trying to talk here. Thank you.
But you know what? At least it's going to be mine. So if you're interested in that, I hope that you watch my future shit. I hope you dig back through my other past shit, right? Because all of it is, in my opinion, pretty interesting. I will someday release this vlog that I've been working on. I have 2 shows, one called Brain Juice, which is a solo podcast. And then I have another show called Chasing Dragons, which is about entrepreneurship and shit. My point is that I'm trying to make content. For the past 6 or so months, I've tried to put this behind me.
Why would anybody care about entrepreneurship from a guy who has only had failed projects?
I never wanted to make this video. But I realize now.
And also, what's so interesting about you besides that you have like 7 disabilities?
That like I have to make this video, because unless I make this video, I will never.
And you're not even willing to
closure on
disclose like the interesting part of your history, which is talking about Caleb Hammer.
Any of these things. So this is this video. Thank you for watching it if you made it towards the end. To the people who have reached out to me as a result of this situation. To the people who have surrounded me with kindness and empathy. You know, they've listened to me. Thank you specifically to Emily.
Oh my God, he's ulting. He's crying.
Emily, thank you so much for getting it.
Dude, he switched instantly into this.
Thank you to my cousin Brandon for being here since the fucking beginning of this shit. And thank you to my parents. My parents have been through hell and back. My parents have been through hell and back. They don't know how to handle this. They don't know how to handle any of this shit, right? They think I'm crazy.
This feels like this is crazy. This is nutto shit. I don't know if you heard that in the background. That was the cat. She loves running around.
Crazy. They don't want me to get sued, but they recognize that like on.
I don't think Caleb Hammer is gonna sue you. Gonna be real. I think you could reveal a ton of stuff about Caleb Hammer, and he's probably not gonna sue you. I think you are making your own mental situation way worse than it should be. And you're making your parents' situation way worse than it should be. They're like, oh, our son's gonna get sued. Well, we gotta help him out, huh?
On some level, I need to speak about this in some way. And so they've been so supportive and encouraging, and I love them so much. So thank you guys. To my editors who are working for too little money, you know, thank you so much.
Dude, you can't even pay your editors. They're like doing it because they pity you so much. They're so, they see a sad sack like you, and they're like, fuck, I guess I could get practice. I guess I can help this guy out. It's like a charity case.
So much. I owe you guys so much. And I'm so sorry that I couldn't pay you more money. But I don't have any. And lastly, thank you to the people who have been kind.
And he's back. He's cool now. His eyes are no longer red. He's fine.
Me and my DMs. It's so wonderful to connect with you guys. You know, people who like genuinely seem to actually fucking give a shit about me and my life. Those people are awesome. So thank you for that. I'm going to turn this off now.
Why are you so obsessed? Oh my God. Why are you so obsessed with the approval of internet strangers? Why do you care so much? What fucking approval do you need? Your parents are fucking harboring you like a fugitive from the mental hospital. Jesus Christ, dude. All right, well, that was a hell of a video. I wasn't expecting that. I got way more energy into that than I thought I ever could. Because I watched it and I was like, this is like a backup because my original stuff didn't turn out as planned, but holy shit. I went sicko mode. Oh my god. Man's never heard of getting a job. He can't keep a job. At this point, I'm starting to think that it's not because he's like bad. It's because he's delusional and crazy. Like, I have no idea if he got fired for like, oh, you fucked up a client. I'm thinking he like cried to somebody at his fucking job or something. And it like somebody who he's never met. He went to his boss and he started like bawling. My god. This guy's crazy. This guy needs help. He fucking needs a lot. All right, how much money is he making on Patreon now? $147 a month, 21 members. Let's go. So, all right, so for $5, the cost of a coffee. Jesus Christ, coffee has gotten expensive. You're helping me pursue a lifelong dream and create meaningful content. You'll have my deepest gratitude, and you'll be part of the community that's helping my projects grow from the ground up. If you have like a normal paying job and your rent isn't too high and you don't have crazy debt, you actually barely need any money to like start a YouTube channel. It's actually one of the freest things you could do. It's one of the easiest side hustles you can do. All right, so for $15, a collaborator, you're not just a supporter. You're part of the process. For $15 a month, you'll help shape the direction of my content while getting an inside look at how all it comes together. Your support at this level helps me create better projects, and I want you to feel involved every step of the way. General support, behind-the-scenes content, exclusive voting power, and video tutorials and lessons. I don't want fucking lessons from you, dude. What success do you have to offer that I would have anything to gain from? What knowledge do you have? Christ. So it's up to like, I'll refresh because it came out fairly recently and there was some drama about it today. So it's almost up to 20K views. At least 2 days ago. Oh my god. I really wonder why he couldn't keep a marketing job.